What's up, you heathens and demons, and what is up with that? That's all messed up. Everything's jacked up now that we're live. You gotta love it. I will fix that. What's up, guys? Not sure what's going on with my OBS screen right now.
The tech gremlins, that's what's happening.
We're just gonna restart it all and put it back up and do it again, I guess. All right.
Hey, everyone.
Yeah, they can hear us. They just can't see us for some odd reason.
Hey, guys. So, the big thing here is we actually do have Suris and Aaron. They are in the same box. I know you can't see it. And Shay, all here to debunk the claims made by one of this channel's absolute favorite, and by favorite I mean horrendously terrible Christian apologists who have directly harmed people on our channel. The one, the only, Messengers Reveals. I'm not sure if I can even say his name right, because he hasn't managed to say a single thing right about any of the things that have happened on this channel and others. He has reframed his story about, traumatizing two very important members of our community repeatedly, including blaming one of the people in this call for having actually done that. So we are here to set the record straight. This predates me. This event is a bit special to me because it's one of the reasons that Noka brought me on his channel in the first place. So this is interesting to be sort of a moderator dealing with something that happened literally just before I came onto the scene. So with that, everyone, Suris was supposed to be simul-streaming, but unfortunately there were some complications to that. I'll let him talk about it if he wants to, but for the moment, yep. For the moment, he's here in audio only until he can swap to his computer. So this is going to be reposted as a video on his channel, potentially, as a mirror, but for right now, we're the only ones live. You're only going to get to see it live here. So welcome, and welcome to the shit show.
And they can see us now. What the hell? That has never happened before, right? Like
the motherfucking tech gremlins, they know this is important. You didn't give them blood. Naka, I'm telling you, it doesn't matter if it's diseased. You have to give them blood.
I need to cut myself before every stream.
Just like notches.
How can you have been streaming this long with Aleakai and not know to give the tech gremlins blood?
Yeah, I should, Shay.
I mean, the seeing red, they need to see your red blood. This is how this works, Naka. You need to learn this if you're going to be hanging with pagans.
Just a little prick on the finger. Just
it's
not hard.
It sucks. But we're here. What's up, guys? What's up, Suris? Aaron is with Suris. Suris is in his car, so he couldn't stream. But he's here. We are going to be talking about some stuff. And honestly, we shouldn't even have to be talking about it, because if the person we're talking about was a good human being, he would have done the right thing. He would have apologized. Instead, he's taken the route of, I'm just going to continue to attack these people no matter what. And so we're here once again. It will be the last time. Messenger Reveals. I know you're watching. What's up, bro?
All right, so since everybody can see things in the same order that I can, Air, welcome back to the channel after a long hiatus. What's up?
Nothing much. I've pretty much settled into Phoenix. I'm pretty close to getting my own apartment. Things have been pretty great over here.
Congrats.
Made a ton of friends with living in a big house with 5 other people. It's interesting.
I'm glad you're doing better.
I've been waiting to get some patches for the jacket, and they haven't showed up, and they were shipped last week, which is
you know what? The jacket is still looking fabulous. Like, you are looking good, and you look a lot happier than you did last time we saw you. So it's amazing to see that things are looking up.
Oh,
yeah, she cut her hair. I like it.
I gotta say, it's mostly because of the people that I'm living with. It's such a bad.
Don't tell her that, but it's cute.
A lot of that to Suris, by the way. So thank you.
All I did was raise awareness. That was my only job.
I know, but you still got me in touch with the right people, and I appreciate that.
So that gives us a fantastic segue. Suris, Aaron, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a long time since we've had either of you on also.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've actually had the ability to be on anybody's live stream. Even my own live streams, I've not been able to do as often as I want to due to complications. But anywho, we are here because this is This is a situation that when it happened made me see red, and I considered covering this particular situation in depth, but I decided not to, because it became a case of, do I bare my teeth because this pisses me off, or do I let the irrelevant fucko be an irrelevant fucko, and just let him mire in that? That tact didn't seem to work very well for this, so we're going with the other one. But how about you, Aaron?
I'm trying to do some redoing stuff on my channel. I've been trying to handle some own personal issues, especially newest ones that popped up. So things have been kind of just on my end, especially with the virus that's been going around.
It's a virus that won't get you drunk, but it does have corona.
All right, so the big reason why this kind of came together was that the Messenger's ass himself decided to go on JPASIC's channel and do a 7.5 hour long, I've been referring to it as the lobotomy stream, because after I listened to 5 hours of it on double speed, I wanted to give myself one and was researching the safest ways to do so. So,
you basically
don't.
You basically wanted to become Marin on the third day in Majora's Mask, where the aliens have lobotomized her.
Effectively, yes. Unfortunately, this just going through the level of stupid as a conversation we had earlier, the level of stupid could not be contained in my cranium because there's too much smart there, so it blew out the back of my skull, and I've been working on cleaning the brains up. That's kind of where I'm at. So it started off with a bunch of accusations against other members of the community, but quickly devolved into more claims about his supposed alleged ability to cure PTSD that he can't share for his own reasons. And we've got clips upon clips of him in his own words, with context, expressing these things that we're going to go through. But a few hours in, he decided to make the claim that the terrible, terrible event, which I want to allow the people who were here to recount in their own words, that occurred on this channel over 6 months ago, was caused not by him, but by Shay.
And you mean where I swore and left a stream very abruptly?
Yeah, that
event. That event. So, yeah, Aaron, would you like to describe what happened when you went off of that stream? Like, what caused you to leave, and what happened when you left?
So, Bucko caused me to leave because it triggered my PTSD. And then I went to the living room and had a full breakdown on the living room floor, which is now my office.
And that will the living room floor is not your office. What was the living room has been converted into an office. Let's be honest. We built a wall, okay? Conservatives be happy. That said,
you made the joke, so I didn't have to.
That said, I watched that stream as well, and what I saw in that was a lot of Messenger inciting. A lot of going, no, listen, I know what's up. I know what I'm talking about. His exact words, I don't need to provide evidence. Bitch, if it's science, yes, you do.
Especially to a fucking scientist.
Yeah, and we had covered that. Like, Dragnot Silvis called him out. Shay called him out about peer review research, and we're gonna get into all of that. Ali is well prepared, so I'm not gonna get ahead of ourselves. But yeah,
I went through that
if you're talking to a scientist,
every one of those claims.
You know, if you're talking to a scientist and you're making that claim, you're in trouble.
We also happen to have the. Oh, sorry. Go on, Shay.
I was gonna say, if you have the ability to cure thousands upon thousands of people and you're just keeping to yourself, what does that say about you?
It says that the government really bad. Don't tread on me. I'm not a fasci, but the government real bad. They'll abuse people. Bad government. Don't tread on me. Snake flag.
I mean, he did say that actually in that same stream.
So I want to ask Aaron really quick. We have a rough sort of order for the clips from that stream that we want to cover. Do you want to save the clip from the real stream, which we have preserved apparently? Aaron did preserve that video, even though originally Naka clipped that section off to protect their privacy, out of concern that other people might use it against them.
Yeah, so just a bit of context. So as Suris was telling you about, and Aaron was telling you about the breakdown that they had after that stream, Suris was in contact with me that whole time. So I was, for one, I was very upset because I had walked away while it happened, and I clearly asked Messenger Reveals not to do that, and he did it anyways. And he did it in a time when I was AFK. So I stayed up late
Daddy's
as
not home.
shit.
I can steal cookies now.
Yeah, to delete that the last part of that and to send it to Suris and make sure that they had it. So that's a bit of context to that because Messenger I'm not sure if we'll actually cover it, but he made claims to that as well.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask Aaron, do you want to play the clip from your backup of that stream, you know, when we're doing the debunk of your guys' version of what happened, or do you want me to wait until the end before we do our sort of wrap up? Because either way, that is the one piece that we have not discussed the timing of.
So I would go ahead and play it now. Get the worst of it over.
Yeah, so we can move on from it. I agree with that.
It's 16 minutes of information because it's everything from 3 hours and 14 minutes to the 3 hour and 30-minute mark. And because of that, there's a lot to go over. So getting that one out first, probably a good idea.
Yeah,
Alrighty,
I would agree.
Full disclosure, I don't have the mental capacity to be upset anymore because I've just been an upset wreck for like weeks. So.
All right, so with that in mind, I am going to pop open the claim that he has made, which might take a moment to get to, but I'm going to pop open the screen share. Hopefully it doesn't screw anything up on Naka's end because it might try to full screen it and he might have to mess with it. So Naka, pay attention.
It should be okay, but
yes.
I will fix it as we go. Want to welcome the new subscribers. Thank you for subscribing. Welcome.
So, I'm going to go ahead and play the claims that Messenger was making. It's going to be a shitty screen cap, and I'm sorry for you guys, but I did not have near as much time to prepare for this portion of how we were going to display it as, you know, the actual evidence portion. So bear with me. Apologies, but this is the best that I'm able to do, being the one who's hosting at the moment. So, if you guys should be able to see the screen now.
I will be right back. I have to go check on something.
Okay. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and play the clip of him making claims about Shay, and then I'm going to stop screen sharing, let you guys discuss that for a moment, and then I'll pop open our evidence of what really happened.
All right, I'll be right back.
Ooh, we're not hearing it now. Why
yeah,
not?
we don't.
It's not. Is it not? I did click the option. Let me see if restarting the screen share will fix it. Share computer sound. Make sure that that's set. Let's try that again. All right. Can you guys see it now? And can... All right. Let's see. I'm going to reopen that clip because I had played it a little bit. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay. All right. So,
yeah, I mean, you don't have to go into it if you don't want to. But what is it with that? What is that with that relation? Because I remember when you kind of first came on the scene and you were on Nakasuchi's channel, he was like one of these. He was in the live chat, you know, in the live stream, and he was like really, and it wasn't just him, obviously, but he was she. I'm sorry, she. I'm misgendering.
Are you talking about Shay or are you talking about Tony Josines?
No, AR, Shay,
okay.
AR.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I said, I that's why I apologized. I'm misgendering. She seemed very adamant against what it was that you were proposing. And I think that she was adamant against that based on the religious standard. And from I'm saying,
I'll tell you exactly what the main issue was with Shay. I attacked her friend Suris. Once I made negative comments about Suris, she couldn't handle it. And then everything became, I'm going to expose this person for who he is. I'm going to sit there and make him look bad. I'm going to let everybody know to stay away from him. Like Tasha really wanted to come to me for help. Shay talked her out of it. Shay talked Tasha.
Who's Tasha?
Tasha. She was the person that Raging Atheist had on her channel, on his channel.
Okay, so I'm going to put a pause really quick. Remember here that he mentions that somebody was looking to get help from him, because that's going to be kind of important for one of the clips that we play later and one of the arguments that we're going to be making regarding some other statements that he makes. So I'm just drawing attention to that now. But I also wanted to break it up a little bit so that YouTube's algorithm doesn't get pissy and say that we're not being transformative with the work, because it's long.
Real quick, Allie, are we going to get into the clip from that I had deleted?
Yes, we are. But this is where I need to get to the point where he makes the claim that Shay was the one that triggered Aaron, that's coming up.
All right.
But I'm playing the whole segment so that he cannot say that we did not give proper context. I even played the question he was asked.
All right. We will talk about that part with Lady Tasha here in a moment, later on in the stream, because me and AR was talking about that before stream.
Okay.
Tasha.
Oh, Lady Tasha. Oh, yeah. Okay.
And AR talked her out of coming to me, because remember we got into that big issue in debate about complex PTSD, which is not a real diagnosis according to the DSM or even the ICD-10 at the time.
Yeah, there are plenty of disorders.
So when I talked to Lady Tasha, Nakasuchi showed all the clips on his channel that were all negative up front, but he didn't show the after part where she was calming down and we were having a nice conversation, and she's like, yeah, I'd like to learn more. Atheist Rationale went and talked her out of it in private messages. Like if somebody really wants some help and you fucking make them afraid to get help, you're fucking with their lives. You're the one who's dicking with people's lives in negative ways.
Well, I think and it depends, because if they're thinking that you're therapy, because if AR
Reese 2.0 wanted to come to me for help, and then got talked out of it in the same way, and now you see the negative stuff with Reese 2.0 in the chat. Reese 2.0 is another one of those disingenuous people who couldn't handle the pressure of their own community. And now you see negative stuff. Now you see Tony Designs out there going, toxic, lying piece of shit. Tony, I'm not the one going behind one's back, going into private chats, blocking them, and doing all these negative things. And whoever Vincent Jones is, I've never even heard of Vincent Jones. It wasn't that you attacked Suris, it's that you fucking triggered Aaron's PTSD. You know who triggered Aaron's PTSD? Atheist Rationale. Atheist Rationale kept ramping it up, and then
wait, you're talking about Aaron? You talking about Aaron's chair?
Yes, they think I'm responsible for why she freaked the fuck out on that channel. Do you know who was responsible? John Peterson firing it up to begin with, and then Atheist Rationale continually trying to misrepresent what I was attempting to share, rather than letting Aaron and I have a private conversation.
AR, give it a sec.
Oh,
so Atheist Rationale is equally responsible for Aaron's meltdown on Raging Atheist, and I was going to do an expose and a response video to Suris over the holiday break, but I got.
Okay, so there you go, guys. There's the claim.
So I want to go ahead and say the first thing. First thing is, you can play the goalpost moving game 1,000 ways where this is concerned. You can go, actually, I'm going to make fun of his voice right now. I'm going to use the other voice. It's fine, because I'm working on 2 hours of sleep, and he's a big boy. He can handle me mocking him. But if he wants to be the type of person, you okay?
I have something to say, and it's going to suck.
But you can be the type of person who goes, actually, it wasn't my fault that I hurt this person. Nakasuchi hit the start stream button. Had he not started the stream, no one would have gotten triggered. Like, you can do that. You can do the goalpost moving thing like he tried to do with Shay, like he tried to do with Peterson. What the goalpost moving thing is doing is effectively trying to throw the onus onto somebody else and not take responsibility for anything that he's actually said. But Aaron.
So here's my biggest take with that. I didn't hurt Aaron. Okay, You don't get to decide that. The minute words leave your mouth, you do not get to decide who they hurt or what. The person who was hurt gets to say, you hurt me. This hurt. So congrats, you hurt me, messenger reveals.
We have a word for people who say that I didn't actually hurt you. It begins with an A, and it's libel. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, well,
So,
and
well,
not
I mean,
only
and
that, but
we have a word for telling someone that they're not hurt when they are, and it starts with G and ends with light.
and this goes to
Yeah.
like I've told him several times since then, like all you have to do is do the human thing, right, and apologize. Recognize you was wrong in that moment, and you did something wrong, and you hurt somebody, and apologize to that person. And what does he do? Every single time he chooses to attack her again. And that's why we're here, right? Like, that's why we're here. He attacks Aaron again. He attacks Shay again. He wants to put the onus on everybody else but himself. Like, dude, I thought you cured yourself. I thought that you could see these things about yourself and analyze them and take care of them, but you're not. You're blaming everybody else instead of yourself, when I clearly in that stream asked you not to fucking do it. I walk away from my computer and I come back to a shitstorm and I have to end the stream.
Wasn't he supposed to have transcended past negative behaviors by now? I thought
Yeah,
he was
like, that's what he
using some of that
claims.
Christ consciousness.
He cured
Also,
himself, right?
Try again.
Let's also add that shows a lack of maturity where it's like, I have stated publicly, messenger reveals is the one who's hurt me. It has been publicly
Yeah.
stated. And then once I have said that, you don't get to decide you didn't hurt me, because now I have publicly stated that an action you have done has caused either emotional or physical harm, whether or not it was intended.
And I do feel a little guilty for not noticing that. Like, you were, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, getting into flashback mode, like, sooner. Like, I did tell Messenger to stop as soon as I noticed. But, like, by that point, it was almost a little too late.
I think that's
And
when
that-
I came back
that's
into the
also-
stream.
That's also on me, because I'm really, really good at taking my emotions and putting them as far back for as long as I physically can. So it's not on you for not noticing, because I was actually hiding it from everybody and trying my best.
Well,
If I remember
I
correctly,
pulled
you
up.
pulled the
I
whole-
finally downloaded the got the stream to download, because I was trying to get it to play on Google Drive and it wasn't. So I downloaded it. I've got it set to about 15 minutes back from the end, which is where you guys told me to stick it.
Right.
Where, like, how much of this do you want me to play? Like, let me know
Just
when
play
you're
it-
watching the
play
stream
it.
when you want me to pause
We'll try to be quiet during. Just play it, because I think it's gonna go for a good 10 minutes at least. But just one final point in that too. Like, you have to understand, as far as I know, John Peterson has remained Messenger's friend. And actually took neutral ground when it came to the Messenger reveals bullshit on my channel. So for Messenger to throw a friend under the bus here now, to pretty much take the blame off of himself, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe they've had things behind the scenes that I'm not aware of, but as far as I know, that they're still friends, right? Like, to me, that just shows you the character that we're dealing with here. You know, he only cares about his own image, and he only cares about changing the narrative from what actually happened to something that is feasible. And now, if you notice, he's like a Christian again. So he's like really trying to get along with Christians, which it just blows my mind. So
John?
no, Messenger reveals is like
Okay.
everywhere trying to talk to Christians now. So like it just blows my mind that I know for a fact that John Peterson refused to really get into this fray because of his relationship with Messenger, and here Messenger is throwing him under the bus.
Which, that's just kind of... Watching that happen reminds me of, like, private academy days. It reminds me of the girls at my private academy when I was in grade school, way back before the US. And these girls would throw each other under the bus when they got caught for something called iujume, or like severe bullying. And
Yeah.
they would be friends up until that point. It's like, it's so childish to me, because that's something I've seen children do.
Yeah, and that's a good analogy, because I think this is clearly bullying. I think this is clearly Messenger using whatever education he has and whatever psychological training he has to use it against
Which, by the
people
way,
to
we're
make a
going to
point.
be We're going to be getting into that later too, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah. So roll. You can go ahead and roll the clip. Let's. We'll all try to be quiet and. Audience, mind you that this is going to be hard to watch. Hard enough that I deleted it off of the channel. So yeah, just caution.
All right, so this is your guys' trigger warning. Somebody is going to be, attacking someone for their PTSD, and you're going to witness somebody who has been triggered. If you have it and you're concerned that that might trigger you, this is your chance to pause the video. It'll go on for at least 10 to 15 minutes. You can return after that time, and we should be discussing it by then. So I'm going to pause it throughout to have a discussion, but if you're going to have a hard time watching and listening, this is your warning.
And for everybody who is triggered by it, I completely understand. I also recognize with PTSD, there are random triggers that you aren't going to be aware are going to trigger you. So please, please, please do what's best for your mental health and don't force yourself into a position that you're uncomfortable.
All right, I'm going to stop my own video to make sure that this video plays properly because I'm not playing it from browser. So let's make sure. Let me know if sound or something doesn't transfer.
Here's some psychology for you guys. Everybody knows that Messenger Reveals knows he doesn't have a cure for PTSD, but he's so ingrained in his argument that he's got to defend it no matter what.
Yeah.
And at this point, he's going to defend it no matter what.
I'm fine with you believing what you want, but if people say no, you just got to cut it out right
there.
My
God, I can't believe
I'm not talking about people saying that yes or no, I'm willing to do it. I'm talking about people saying that it's impossible that it exists. It's just ignorance because people are not curious about what they believe.
So what don't understand.
I love this shit. Go ahead.
Yeah, go, Chris. I'll say my thing after.
As someone who suffers PTSD.
Nice. Go ahead.
I'm going to say this. Anybody who says that they personally can offer a better treatment or a better solution than what and without evidence is ignorant of what is actually in the evidence-based psychological treatments.
As evidenced by what?
May I say something as somebody with PTSD that does require a service animal due to the severity and nature of my PTSD? Because I have PTSD from, just to clarify, so everybody is aware, I have PTSD from a couple of different things, such as fighting in the Middle East and being a victim of a crime. Very severe victim of a crime. So, we have established my PTSD. And the reason I'm being very vague about that is it's my own privacy. It's my own business.
Totally fair.
AR knows about it. So I need a service animal for my PTSD. I, however, recognize that I am much better than I was previously using the evidence-based treatment. So if you are claiming to have something better, I want the research. I want to see that it does work better. Because here's the thing. You are now trying to deal with somebody who loud noises, very sudden loud noises and gunshots, I shut down. Seeing pictures of the insides of ships, I shut down. It's not something you can sit there and go, I have a cure for this, because if you sit there and claim to have a cure for something without the evidence to back it up, what you are doing is you are giving people false hope, or you are giving people, and if they're not cured, it's false hope. Or you are putting people in a position where they are sitting there and they're like, I could be cured. And if they're not cured, you lead to a higher risk of suicide. As a veteran, there's already 22 military veterans a day that commit suicide.
That's false statistics, just so you know.
Can you prove it?
Yes.
How?
Because if you go out there to the internet and you type in 22 suicides a day by veterans, I did a research project based on this in 2013. It is false information why they came up with the 22 suicides a day. Because if you came up with 22 suicides a day and multiplied by 356, you would eliminate almost all the veterans within 3 years.
So by that logic, there's only 18,000 veterans in the United States. By the fucking way.
Yeah, I remember you doing
I'm
the.
telling you, it's not.
Go ahead and pause
because
for a
there's new
minute.
veterans that come in every single year, right? Like,
Yeah, I'm
No,
a
there's
veteran.
not new. There's no. There's
warfare.
Hi, hit the pause button, please.
Yeah.
Hey, it
good.
took me a second. You guys were talking over yourselves in the video, so I couldn't tell if it was you or if it was them. Sorry.
So the most recent statistic that actually came out is it's 6,000 U.S. veterans a year.
Which breaks down to about 20 some odd a day. It's by his logic. I did a research. Okay, we're gonna do the voice. I did a research paper, and in that research paper, I concluded that by that statistic, there would be no veterans left in the United States because we obviously have a standing military of less than 18,000. That's what I got from that.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous.
I'm glad that second grade math disproves the dumb shit he says.
Also, as far as research project goes, if he's claiming he did this in school, we now have a rough timeline for claims he's going to make later in the other stream. So, like, we might want to keep that in mind when we're having a conversation later about whether or not he's ever actually treated patients.
Let's also add several hundred people a week join the goddamn military. 20% of combat victims have PTSD from combat. 40% of PTSD victims are from the same type of crime I went through. 40%. Oh my God. Are you an idiot?
Also, I see in the
He's
chat
stupid.
that Brother John is saying this is a straw man. We're literally taking the exact claim he said, the exact way he said it, and showing that by second grade math it's wrong. That's not a straw man. I am going off 2 hours of sleep, so I apologize if I see something else like that again in the chat, and it is referring to this. I apologize, Naka. It's your channel. But
Well, no, it's true though.
right now.
It's not a straw man. He's making a claim, and that's very easily debunked. And he also made claims in other streams that dealing with wartime PTSD was somehow different. Him and Drag got into that. That was a knockdown drag out that I covered in the year-end stream that I did. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because I think we'll get there eventually and talk about how I was supposed to have a private conversation with Messenger and all of that. But
Brother John.
yeah.
But yeah, we're
Why do you
getting
have the
there,
patience
guys.
of a 6-year-old?
We started it a little bit early to set everything up because there's people in the chat asking about this. We started a little bit early to set everything up so that it is perfectly in context how the abuse came about. So again, it's going to be a few minutes of getting through this. Several of the clips are going to be a few minutes long, but the reason is we have repeatedly been accused when we've done these debunks of not giving, quote, proper context and other things, of taking clips out of context and making him look bad. I mean, fuck, he made that claim in the stream we just watched.
He
so
literally
we are
has-
making damn sure that you have context, and so does he when we are making these claims.
He has literally recently made that claim about me that I was literally just showing what happened and giving my opinion on what happened. And he said I took that out of context. What happened on my own damn channel, and I was showing what happened on the channel.
Brother John, if you would like to have the patience of a 2-year-old toddler, we can place you in timeout where you can sit in your little bucket and be a toddler and have your temper tantrum. However, because linguistical commas are kind of my thing, let me point out that you having this, let me see the evidence, is not going to have the evidence play any faster. You're just slowing down the process. Congratulations.
We can just ignore him too.
Well, not only
and
that,
he's
but
literally
we
the
don't-
one not providing the evidence. He won't provide his credentials. He won't provide any peer-reviewed research for this so-called cure. He won't even provide like data to this cure. He just says, "Let's have a private conversation."
Bear
Okay,
in
so-
mind, Aliakai, when I sent you this video, I did say to start it at 3 hours, 14 minutes, not 15, because at the 14-minute mark is when he says that he does not need evidence for his claims, and I feel like that's important for context.
All right. Well,
Maybe-
I will back it up to 3 hours 14, and I will play that really quick, and then go back to where we were because I made a mental note of where we were.
Okay.
All right. So here is the clip that Suris just asked me to play. This is where he claims that. Keep in mind, we have another clip that's recent from the other stream where he makes that same claim. So we'll move on to that clip right after we're done with the discussion of this is what happened that night. All right. So I'm going to start playing it.
Yes, fucking shit I've
Florida
ever seen in my
man
life.
is a
It is
fake.
hilarious. Like, if you've never like hashtag Florida in a YouTube search, please do so. Seriously.
Hey, Messenger. So you come in here like 10 minutes ago, like you're all triggered about something, and you've just been sitting there like with this dull look on your face. Like, so what's up, man?
I can tell you why. I'm sure I've been trying to bring it up here for a second now. Like,
Sorry?
so Suris, I don't think he really had any preconceived notions of you. Did you not try and offer somebody your cure for PTSD in the conversation?
No,
I mean, in his chat room. Then what did you do? Because I was there. and I know that happened,
I told them that they didn't have to continue to suffer from the symptoms that they were suffering from with PTSD, that there was cures for it. And when they questioned it, I said, I've helped people be free from PTSD.
Oh, look, there's
And
his
that's
cure
when he got
claim.
into the whole proselyte bullshit. And then when he blocked me, and then he went on his own rant. And that's
what
when
happened there is he blocked you immediately and said he doesn't want snake oil sales. Snake oil.
he never said anything about snake oil.
We can go back and look at the video.
Sure,
I listened to the video. Atheist Rationale. I listened to the video. He said
I
that
literally got you guys feeling good about each other, and now
we're still feeling good. We're still feeling good.
He's misrepresenting.
Atheist Rationale just misremembers, which I completely understand.
Raging. Hey,
all
Raging.
my good work for not.
Hey, Raging, don't blame them. I pulled the pin and threw the grenade.
Yeah, hey, John, I have not mistaken that fact. I will hold you accountable forever.
Here's my only thing, man. If people are already getting evidence-based treatment and they refuse you, you shouldn't keep pushing them.
I didn't push them. They were victimizing themselves, and they were falling into a victim mentality.
Yeah, you don't.
Let me finish.
Because if somebody's getting evidence-based treatment, that's perfectly fine. Because more often than not,
if they're getting
sit there in the basement,
listen,
all of your symptoms, or reduces them up.
Listen. If people are getting evidence-based treatment that is not working, it's not fucking working.
I'm getting evidence-based treatment. It takes different time periods for everybody.
What I'm offering here, I said that I offer something better than the treatment that's offered in technology.
I didn't have to hear
You can't say that until you have some evidence to back it up.
I don't have to have evidence because every human being that I've worked with is free from those things.
Yeah, you don't want to make time. You're just a therapist after a year. You don't.
Please hit the pause button, please.
So we just have the I don't have to have evidence and cure for PTSD claim. There you go, brother John.
Yep. I hope you're happy. He thinks he can cure PTSD. He says there are cures out there, and he doesn't need evidence to back up any of his claims. All said in the video by him from the horse's mouth, not called John Peters.
Yeah, and he's supposed to be a professional, right? Which I guess we'll be talking about that later. But like, this dude should know better. I mean, he should know better.
Knock, what are you doing, your mic?
That's not my mic. I was wondering whose mic that is.
What's going on?
It sounds like somebody's bumping up against their mic.
That might have been me while I was holding it, but I'm not holding it.
It's still happening.
It's still happening.
Oh, now I just heard it, but that can't be me.
That is so weird.
Well, I just muted mine and I can still hear it, so whose is it? Shay, it's yours. When I muted you, it stopped.
The mystery.
Yep, it's Shay. When I muted Shay, the noise stopped. All right, so there you go. There is the claim that he can cure PTSD. There is the claim that he doesn't need evidence to prove that he can cure PTSD.
But the big bad atheist and meanies are just picking on him, and it's all our fault.
Add of any type of therapist, if a potential client says no thank you, or I do not want your treatment, or any combination thereof, and you continuously push, you're breaching a lot of issues.
I gotta say, pushing as a therapist, trying to push somebody into therapy, and then getting upset when somebody says, no, maybe we shouldn't take your snake therapy. That is a bit of a red flag. And we've also got his bogus claims. So let's continue where we left off.
All right, I'm pretty sure I put it where we left off. We might hit another extra minute or two of things that we've already seen, just because I tried to make a mental note, but I want to make sure that I hit the right spot. All right. So guys, if you're confused, if it looks like there's missing context, let me know. I'll try to make sure that I hit the correct section.
As a veteran, there's already 22 military veterans a day that commit suicide.
That's false statistics, just so you know.
Can you prove it?
Yes.
How?
Because if you go out there to the internet,
classic.
You type in 22 suicides a day by veterans.
Like, fuck you.
I did a research project based on this in my 2013. It is false information why they came up with the 22 suicides a day. Because if you came up with 22 suicides a day and multiplied by 356, you would eliminate almost all the veterans within 3 years. So the statistic is not a factual statistic. I'm just telling you, it's not.
Like bullshit for me, because there's new veterans that come in every single year, right? Like,
yeah,
there's not new veterans in, because the amount of veterans was more popular. No, the amount of veterans coming into population was more prevalent in the 70s, 80s, and 90s than it was in the 2000s and 2010s. So we're receiving less veterans in the 2000s and the 2010s than we ever did before that.
I would just like to see your math. That's all.
It's not about the math. Go out and do your research. I'm telling you, it's there. No. She made the assertion that 22 military veterans are committing suicide a day, and I said it's not
I'm about to
correct.
pull up the Veteran Affairs suicide.
See, she can pull up evidence, but you're not pulling up anything.
You give me the VA's website, which is the .gov website, and I'll subscribe to it. Give me a .gov website from the VA, and I'll subscribe to it, because everything you're going to pull up is not .gov, which is the VA. I'm a veteran. I know.
So what do you think is the suicide rate, Messenger? Because, I mean, this war in Iraq was horrible.
I just want to pause to point out that he goes, I'm a veteran, I know, after Aaron had already said that they were also a veteran.
It's almost like there is some criterion by which he thinks he should be able to dismiss a fellow veteran. Some criterion that he himself does not share. I do not want to speculate on what criterion that would be. I'll leave that to the audience.
Yeah, and there's farther context on this with his interaction with Dragnot on the channel.
AR, you're still having weird mic issues. I muted you because you were the one that was having the weird mic stuff.
I mean, it's not a stream with Shay on it if she isn't having mic issues, so it's kind of like nostalgic for me.
Okay, so we're going to continue, but I just wanted to stop and point out that currently that he had to say, I'm a veteran, I would know, to another veteran, not acknowledging Aaron's veteran status.
It's an argument from authority, and it is a style of genetic fallacy. The thing he is saying must be true because of the source of the claim, not because of the contents of the claim.
Yeah. So I am trying really, really hard to control my British, because what's about to come up is going to seriously piss me off.
And we're just getting started, y'all. This stream will probably run a bit long. We got a lot to cover. Thank you, Aaron, for letting us show this, because this has to be hard on you. And I just appreciate you so much, and I thank you for being here and doing this.
And also, Knock, it must be nice to see just how much more clear-headed that you are now that you've stopped drinking as well, because you're very clearly wasted in this.
Yeah, I was. I call myself the raging alcoholic last year. And I noticed it when I was doing the end of the year review as well. That I wish I would have been more sober during these conversations and taken them more seriously and understood what was going on at the time. I was focused on getting the shit off the channel and stopping the conversation, letting it go somewhere else. But yeah, it was definitely. I am glad that I stopped drinking. And for those that aren't here, that aren't aware, it's like I'm going on 3 months now, so I'm pretty proud.
Well, congrats, Knock, because like there's a major improvement
I'm
the
going
content
into my
of
third
the channel
month.
now.
I'm 2 months full, going into my third month.
I need to get you chips. Like, I need to get you chips to send you so that you don't have to go to a religious treatment to get happies. All right, so I'm going to continue this. We've got 10 more minutes of what happened, TM. Or actually, we've got 13 more minutes of what happened, TM. We're going to get pretty close pretty soon into the dark stuff, but we wanted to give all of the setup and all of the context and all of the claims that he made because it's going to be really key to some of the shit he says later when we start quoting him from this new stream. All right, so let's trudge on through, guys.
And we do have like very serious documented cases of very serious PTSD.
Okay,
from this war.
so let's talk about PTSD and let's talk about the severity of PTSD. Let's not talk about a false statistic like 22 persons and let's do the 22 push-ups a day crap that has gone on in social media.
Well, I don't think it's a false statistic until you can prove it's an actual false
It is.
statistic.
Really,
what I want to know is what is your statistic? What is the number that you would get?
Carlton in the chat actually put up a VA.gov report that says not 22, 20 veterans commit suicide a day, which I'm pretty sure would still like work with your math or whatever.
It is not even 20. I'm telling you, it's not 20.
We just posted a .gov website.
You told us 30 seconds ago that you would take it if it was from a .gov website, and this is from a .gov website. So now you're backtracking on us because
I'm not backtracking.
But what I'm trying to get at, and what I was trying to get at earlier, is that if people are receiving evidence-based treatment and they tell you they don't want to get it, it's not up to you to tell them that they're living in a victim mentality. That's bullshit. They're trying
people living in a victim mentality is this. People who believe there's not something better than what they have. That's what I'm talking about.
So every single person on this planet lives with a victim mentality in some form or another. Every single
but that's an issue, Knock. And the reason that it's an issue is because if people don't heal and grow and change within, regardless of what's happened to them, and believe me, for the stuff that happened, I agree. Hold on. And believe me, from the things that have happened to me in my youth and in my childhood and while I was in the military, I could sit there and for sure play the victim mentality as well. However, because of the changes that I've gone through in the last 13 and a half years, I was empowered to become something more than I could have become because I focused on me.
That's great.
I agree with that 100%.
Empowerment is something that they teach you when you're going through several different types of therapy.
Empowerment is not saying that I'm always going to be somebody who's suffering from X. And that's what your therapist, from what you said,
you're not realizing. Here's something that you're not realizing. In that group of research that I brought to the table during our debate, it has the statistics for the success of various different kinds of evidence-based treatment. And what you'll find is with a vast majority of people, after they've gone through the course of therapy, is they don't have relapses in their symptoms, or their symptoms are reduced to such an amount that they can live perfectly normal lives, and their PTSD doesn't affect them to such a severe degree. Now, of course, I'm not finished. Of course, there's going to be outliers. Like some people, like Aaron, need their service animal to help them throughout the day, and I don't see I don't see anything wrong.
There's not a whole lot of research on service animals, even though they're being employed more in clinical counseling than ever before. But there's not even full research on
we're not talking.
I have a service animal because I have to have a service animal, not even just for my PTSD, for my POTS, but are we going to sit there and say that
I'm just saying, I'm just telling you that there's not research to support the efficacy of it, even if it's beneficial to you. That's all I'm saying.
There is actually a lot of research to denote the efficacy of a service animal for conditions such as POTS, epilepsy, and diabetes, and mobility.
We're talking about PTSD and depression and anxiety.
Anyways, to finish off what I was trying to say earlier, we know that people can have a full reduction in symptomology. They can basically be cured under your definition, which is not meeting the requirements of the DSM-5. We know that
DSM-5 does not have anything to do with treatment, just so you know.
I know that.
So don't use it as a source as a treatment.
I'm using your argument here.
You can't use my. No. The only time I ever brought up the DSM.
All right, so I want to give the audience a break for a sec and let us kind of start to address this, because this is he invokes the DSM-5 like a Bible.
Yeah.
Yes, and he has in every conversation we had about this.
In our debate that we had over on Nakasuji's channel, like, what was it, like a year ago?
I mean, you're quiet as hell now, AR, but at least you're not having all of the mic issues.
Yeah, but like, I think it was maybe like a year ago we had that debate. He said that in order to be cured under his death.
Oh, we lost you.
And the tech gremlins have consumed Shay.
Oh.
Again?
There you are.
Oh, nope, you're back. Kinda.
Now you're gone.
Maybe I should hold it like I am in the video. Alright, so...
Oh god, now those horrible sounds are back. Just don't move it very much. Like, try to move as little as possible. I know it's hard. I have the same problem, but just, like, move as little as possible.
Okay. Yeah, I need to get a new audio interface. This thing is dying. Like, I have to uninstall and reinstall the drivers every, like, few days, honestly, if I'm using it on Discord or whatever. But, am I unhearable again?
No, we can hear you. Suris
Okay,
just needs
chat.
to mute really quick unless they're. I didn't hear if they were talking to each other, adding to the conversation.
I think we'll be good to stop now.
Alright, so what was I?
Stop it.
What I was trying to say earlier was that what Messenger claims could be a version of his cure is that they don't meet the requirements under the DSM-5 to be diagnosed anymore. That's what I was trying to relay in this part of the video.
Except, and this is not a refutation of you, but getting the requirements and then being diagnosed, the diagnosis doesn't fall off once you become asymptomatic. Like,
Exactly.
there's certain biological get hit with your PTSD. Like, we've actually found that the amygdala is usually 6% enlarged and causes it to be overactive with PTSD, almost like there's a biological component to it. That doesn't go away even if the manifestations can be controlled.
Learn to control certain manifestations. There's always going to be a level of tensing. There's always going to be a level of hyperactivity and hyper alertness. There are people with PTSD that if your hair falls the wrong way, you send it off.
By the way, guys, I just posted a statistics sheet from the va.gov website. It's a PDF that talks about the average suicide per day for a number of years, including age-adjusted suicides per day. And it disturbingly shows that there's an upward correlating trend with that, but also that the data at the time supported, according to the age-adjusted numbers, age and sex-adjusted suicide rate from the body, from the population. In 2017, it was 27.7 per day.
Yeah, and you have to keep in context that several times I and other people tried to tell Messenger.
Or 27.7%. It was 16.8 per day. My apologies, I misread.
I and several other people tried to tell Messenger that the wording here sucked. That you claim to have a really good treatment for PTSD. That's cool. Then claim to have a really good treatment. Your wording of cure is really bad here. Time and time again, not just me, other people as well. And he just refused to give up that point and then refused to provide evidence to support it. So, I mean, as we get into this, my biggest problem always with Messenger and what I try to tell him that he could not do on my channel anymore is attack people's traumas personally. He did it with Shay. He did it with Lady Tasha. We're about to see him do it again, and it's going to be hard to watch. And I do apologize for the sound issues, but anybody that's been around long enough should know that every time Shay's here, we have sound issues. Gotta love Shay.
All right, so we're going to continue. Like I said, I just wanted to give you guys a break from how long this is because it is a lot to just kind of sit and watch the past. But we want to make sure we're covering everything. So let's keep trudging on. We're getting closer.
And I'm totally
Right.
like glad that Shay's here.
I'll
It's
get
been
a
a
new
while.
audio interface next paycheck, okay?
Okay.
The DSM-5 was to talk
shut up for a
about
second.
people who
You
are
said in the
diagnosed.
You said in the past that in order to tell if somebody is cured from PTSD, all they have to do is not meet the requirements of the DSM-5 diagnosis anymore.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Now we're on the same page because that's what I was just explaining. I don't know why you're rebuting that.
Because you were using it as a form of how it's assessed for how people are cured from it, which is assessment. I'm sorry.
I said under your definition of the word cure. Now you're putting words in my mouth, man. Come on, you're better than this.
No, it's not about me and the cure. It's basically saying because you're talking about a difference between remission and being cured.
I said under your definition of the word cure.
We really needed you here, Messenger.
My definition of the word cure is this: those who no longer meet symptomology and no longer are triggered by the things that they once were.
Perfect.
Period.
Cool. That's exactly what I said.
That's not even the DSM. It has nothing to do with the DSM.
I think the main issue, and my main issue, and me and you have spoken about this, Messenger, is I truly believe that you think that this is a legitimate cure. So do put in the peer review research, prove that this is a cure, so everybody can benefit from it. Like I said, the girl I've spoken of many times, one of the great loves of my life. She has PTSD. I would fucking love for her to be cured. Maybe then we could actually be happy together. But she's so fucking fragile, and her last marriage just ruined her so much that we can't even have a chance of being together. I would love for that to happen.
I
need that cure.
I'm not sitting there saying I wouldn't. However, I want peer-reviewed research being part of my treatment. Because that's something I personally need to make myself feel more comfortable about a situation where I am taking care of my body. It is the same fecking thing I would have for my Ehlers-Danlos, my HNPP, or any other condition that add to my depression. When it comes to my physical health, I want peer-reviewed research. When it comes to my mental health, I want the same damn thing.
So when you go to your therapist, do you ask them for the research by which they're providing therapy to you?
Yes, I actually do.
And what specific therapy did they sit there and hold to as far as their treatment methodology for you?
They go by cognitive behavioral therapy.
Okay, almost everything in postmodern therapy is assigned to cognitive behavior therapy, no different than what I offer.
Well, it's completely different than what you offer.
It isn't completely different.
Desensitization, cognitive behavioral therapy.
Okay,
They're desensitizing me to the triggers so that I am no longer set off to a position where I am flashing back and incapable of being able to pull myself out of these flashbacks and am in dangerous situations.
And in which methods are they using desensitization? Are they using it on a cognitive level, or are they using it on an experiential level where they're doing the exposure therapy?
See, here's an interesting thing. That's my business. I can tell you they are desensitizing me. I don't want to go into the rest of it because here's the thing. That leads you into knowing what the full extent of my trauma is.
So let me tell you from my perspective, atheist rationale. Let me speak to Aaron real quick.
It's irrelevant.
Let's not delve into personal issues. That's all I ask, Messenger.
I'm not going to speak to her about personal stuff.
All right. So
when I talk to people, atheist rationale. When I speak to anybody, when I talk to them one-on-one about empowerment and growth and healing and managing emotions, I don't need to know the history. I don't need to know the details, because once I give people a framework for how to view themselves, how to view others, and how to view the world around them in a healthy way, which is what the world does not teach us to do, which is why we're susceptible to the symptomology that we receive that's clinically diagnosed. That's the problem. When we have a healthy outlook for ourselves and others in the world, we heal, we grow, and we're free from the bullshit that once bound us.
So that leaves me a question. Can you go through getting shot, watching your Marine buddy die, and then sitting there in your face and then be like, oh, I can just get past this? Or you can be tied up to a fucking chair, forced to watch porn while you're raped, and you can say you can get past that.
Could I now? Yes. Could I when I was 25, 30? No.
Cool. This is less than 5 years ago for me. Both of these.
Okay, but it wasn't based on time. It was based on revelation of understanding myself and how to become a healthier version of myself, so that I was not so that I was not a slave to the bullshit of humanity that we all exist within.
And healing takes time. And
it doesn't take time. It takes knowledge. It takes information. It takes perspective. Listen, no, atheist rationale. Do not interrupt me, because this is not your calling. The problem is this: it's not about time. I'm telling all of you human beings right now, it's not about fucking time. Because guess what? Time doesn't heal shit if you don't have a different viewpoint for how the things that you went through is different.
And I feel like you need to like back off, because like she doesn't need this right now.
It's not about that. It's about the reality. It's not about time. Time doesn't fix shit if you don't learn shit that's different. Well, so I'm not going to let you sit there and spew your bullshit that's going to keep her fucking enslaved for the rest of her goddamn life, because you believe it needs to be something different.
I just got back to the messenger raging.
No, I'm sitting there serious, because you guys don't have the goddamn answers. If you had the answers, you would be free from the shit you're not free from. So I'm going to sit there and speak against this because I care about her. So listen, I care about her.
I think
so if I sit there and let you spew your crap,
you say that while you're
trying to keep being in bondage for that shit she's been in.
You say that
I have
all
a
the
problem with that.
I gotta play messenger. I really think that I'm not sure what I missed, because I did step away for a moment to use the bathroom.
I just have a problem.
Aaron just dropped out. I don't.
Okay, so everybody knows, after that point, Aaron did exit the call, and they already explained what happened afterwards. Now, mind, Messenger's claim about what caused everything was that Shay incited everything, causing Aaron to spiral. When in that conversation, Shay was the one telling Messenger to back down, and Messenger adamantly refused. This is the behavior of a gaslighter, attempting to argue to other people that the reality that they know they experienced, that we have evidence they experienced, is not actually reality, in a vain and vague attempt to protect their own image.
Well, and not only that, but he also made the claim in that same clip that they all got calmed down and that she was fine and actually curious about his cure at the end.
No, that was Lady Tasha.
Oh, that was Lady Tasha.
Yeah, that was Lady Tasha.
Okay.
No, let's also add, before my exit, before you publicly see me starting to break, I had been starting to break for about 4 minutes. The point that made it public, when he said, "You are enslaved," that one word was the trigger word that broke my whole dam, because it was the word that set off everything else that led to my spiral for good, 2 hours?
But it was Shay and John Peterson. It was their fault, even though John didn't say shit, and Shay said back off. No. It was definitely them that caused this, even though there's video evidence right here that Messenger was the inciter, Messenger was the one that kept on saying shit, and I hope to God, whichever one happens to be real, he's in the chat watching him get his entire story thrown under a goddamn bus.
Because here's the other side of this. I mean, first off, Shay actually tried to get him to stop, and he said it's not about Aaron being triggered, it's about the truth.
Yeah, his words exactly. And the chat is making a good point. We should maybe relay again what happened after the stream, but we'll get to that when we get there.
Hold on, that's up to Aaron to relay for everybody.
Yeah, if Aaron's willing to do so.
So after the stream, I went to the living room and I sat on the living room floor for about 2 hours, having a full breakdown.
Okay, but you weren't alone. You were with me.
No, I wasn't alone. Never stated I was alone.
But I did a damn good job of helping, okay?
Raziel actually helped me calm down from my breakdown, but I was fully flashing back to multiple instances, and that's not a safe or comfortable position, especially with, everything else going on, because after those flashbacks is increased suicide risk. It does matter when you're triggering somebody with PTSD, because you could literally kill them or cause them to kill themselves.
No. But had you killed yourself, let's go ahead and go down that path for half a second. The statistic about it would have been a lie, but they couldn't provide the math for that.
Because he said 22 veterans a day don't.
Well, and even if that math is wrong, he said his claim was that if 22 veterans a day killed themselves, we would be out of veterans in 3 years, as if the United States only has 18,000 veterans and it's standing fucking... I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Second grade math is hard.
As if we don't have recruiters in every poor high school in the country right now.
So this is where we're going to start, because we originally were concerned that we wouldn't even have access to this footage, because unlike Messenger, Naka was actually concerned about making sure that Aaron stayed safe and that this footage couldn't possibly trigger them in the future.
Yeah, I wanted, because I did, I don't know if he knew that I stepped away, and looking back at it, he probably didn't, because there was no way to really know I stepped away. But it was like as soon as I stepped away, he went in for the personal shit. He kept going and going, and you could see where Aaron was triggered. And any professional would have seen. I can see that, and I'm not a professional. Any professional that claims to have the training and the personal life experience that Messenger Reveals has should have seen what he was doing to that person and stopped. He didn't.
Yeah, and here's where we're going to start to get into the claims being made about his background. Because I've got the other stream, I've got a position where he claims that he has a master's in clinical counseling. If this is the case, would the behavior that we just saw happen? I'm going to pose that question to the chat before I begin playing this next clip. I want you guys to think for yourselves, because it's not my position. Right? It's not my position to tell you guys what to think. It's my position to present the evidence and let you, as skeptics, as our lovely community, make your decisions on what you think happened and what you think the truth is.
I never
clinical
did.
Therapist?
Correct. I was a professional clinical therapist.
So where'd you get your degree from?
I'm not going to talk about my education background.
You're not going to tell me that you got a degree. I'm not telling you.
I received a master's degree in clinical counseling from a KCREP program.
Okay.
Wait. Okay, so I understand it's your prerogative whether or not you want to actually give out where you got your degree, but
sure.
But there's other people that have these credentials and that they have given them out. So why is it reserved about that? If you don't mind me asking.
Because of the intention of what they want. They want to really dox me, find out information. Ooh, we're going to do more investigation. We're going to try to find out this and that. It's a bunch of ways. They're not doing it because they're curious. They're doing it because they want to be a bunch of dicks.
Oh, so you're doing it to prevent maliciousness.
Correct, 100%.
Okay. So if and I'm just saying, and I'm not saying I would give this information out, and I'm not saying that.
If somebody like you, who I consider an authentic person or friend, asked me privately, I would tell you, Jay.
Okay, cool. Okay, that's exactly.
And then you could tell everybody, hey, John showed me his degrees. He showed me his membership with the ACA. He showed me all these credentials live on a video chat. I would do that with you because I would trust you not to dox me.
Okay, yeah, that's all I was saying. If it's fair, if it's kind of like a fair game thing where it's kind of like, okay, all
right, so. We've now seen a clip where he claims that he's afraid that he's going to be doxxed if he reveals where his degree came from, which is funny because if we had a school, like where your degree came from is not actually protected information. If we had the name of a school, we could call that school and find out if you went there. Like your boss, when you get a resume as a boss, you can call a school and find out whether or not the person actually has the credentials they claim they do. Suris, if you're trying to talk, by the way, you're muted. So
I'm not trying to talk.
Okay. So I would like the chat to consider for a moment. What happens after this? Because after this, he claims, okay, so we supposedly want his credentials for malicious intent. All right. I don't understand what exactly I could do with that information that would be harmful, but okay, let's go ahead and grant that. So why does he begin buttering up Jay Pasek here? Because that seems really strange. It seems very strange to go from these people want to hurt me to but you don't.
But I would trust you, Jay. I would give you information, Jay. You would hurt me, Jay. That's manipulation. That's exactly
seems
what that is.
Bit familiar. Like it's almost like, you know, the way he tried to butter me up every time we talked and sucked my ass, and right up until recently, really, like until he quite realized that he wasn't coming back on my channel, that he still tried to suck my ass. I mean, it's a pattern here, I think.
So I'd like to ask, because Suris and I had a fantastic conversation kind of on this earlier. Suris, would you like to sort of share a little bit of your observations of the way that people interact on, say, a one-to-one basis versus in a group setting? Because I think that there might be a little bit of insight, because we can't possibly know what's going through his mind at any given time. Like, this is not something, we're not trying to psychoanalyze anyone. None of us are professionals in that field. But there are a few things that, you know, we can know about ourselves, and we can know about the way that people tend to work that might give us a little bit of insight. Yeah?
So when you are the type of person who, instead of publicly giving information that other people willingly give without much issue, and you are only giving them to isolated people. Now, granted, I'm not saying this is purposefully what Messenger is doing, but isolation of a trusted individual in situations like this is a manipulation tactic. It is a tactic that is used because there's when you spin a particular narrative, you can spin a narrative 5 ways to 5 different people, but it sounds close enough where if those 5 people talked, then they might be able to go, oh no, he said the same thing to us, even if he didn't, because we as people have a habit of tailoring the things we say to the people who are going to receive them. This is why you have a very different way of explaining a concept to an audience of 100 people you don't know than to a loved one who you do know, because the loved one, you know the different things you can and can't say. And if you're trying to convince them of something, you might also know the different things that will convince them more, the different buttons you can push. It's harder to do that with a live audience. Now, there's also another aspect of this that I didn't consider, and that's that showing your credentials to the public for scrutiny means that if something is up with them, like in the case with Kent Hovind, it is very easy for people to rip it apart when they have it. But if you show it privately to a few individuals, all you have is those individuals, because I saw you in the chat, Jay, saying, I was shown their credentials, I've gotten the proof, I understand. You have a bunch of word of mouth, but here's the thing. Revelation is revelation to the first person, and to the third person, it is hearsay. It adds, if you're not thinking about it too hard, it adds to his credibility to have a bunch of people who have seen his credentials. Actually showing those credentials, which BT dubs, as a medical professional, you generally have to do, which he would be considered one in his field, not showing those credentials to everybody else means that it is harder for them to be scrutinized. And if there is a narrative you're trying to play, which I don't know if he is, but if he is trying to play a narrative, it is much easier to do so when you can isolate individual people and get them on your side.
That also adds, not just pre-mortem medical professionals have to show credentials to receive anything. Forensic scientists, to even receive case files that they've worked on, have to show their credentials to rework on these cases for whatever reason they have to.
And not only that, but like, you know, I as a raging atheist feel like I need to relay to my audience the truth about myself. So I have went out of my way to talk about past experiences and what led me to do this and that, and I dropped out of college and all of this. So there is no misconception about who I am as a person. And yeah, if you're a medical professional and you're gonna come on to live streams and give medical advice as Messenger is doing here repeatedly, even though I asked him several times, I don't want this shit on my channel. You better provide those credentials, and he would not do repeatedly. Shannon Q called him out on his rhetoric, and he just kind of dodged it and attacked Shannon Q. It is insane to me that a professional that has received a master's degree would not share that if he's making these claims.
Well, and not only that, but at the time that these claims were being made, he has pulled many of these videos down. So unfortunately, I'm not able to actually show you guys proof because many of these videos have been pulled down. But he used to have a series that he called
every video.
Oh, well then, AR, if you've got some sort of Google Cloud link, then I'd be happy to play the one with that on anxiety, because at the time he claims that he was not taking patients, and that's why he didn't need to show credentials. But in the side chat and in several of his unlocking, break from worldly thinking, something like that, series that he had running, he claimed repeatedly that there were people in the community that he was treating and helping with this PTSD method.
Well, yeah,
that he would help anyone who reached out for help. In fact, there's somebody in our side chat right now, Callan, who reached out to him and asked if they could help her as a trans woman deal with her problems, and he said yes.
Well, and not only that, there's a person in the side chat, Marty, who worked with him. And she's still his friend and would speak rather highly of him. But for him to claim that he doesn't have patience or isn't working with anybody, dude, literally, you got Marty working with you on my channel. And
unplugged from worldly thinking. Thank you, Marty.
Yeah, and I love Marty. She's my girl.
So this is in the side chats and in the actual streams themselves, he very much made the claim that he was helping treat other people.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost as if, Messenger lies. I don't know.
So I'm not making the claim that I'm not making the claim that Marty sat in with him. I'm saying that Callan reached out to him and asked him if he would be willing to help them treat their trans issues or counsel them through their trans issues, and he said yes. And Athena is claiming I had 2 one-on-ones with him. So even if he's not charging money for therapy, he is claiming to provide a therapy service and has done so on multiple live streams, many of which he pulled down.
Somebody's really low. Yeah. So I mean, it's just, the reason I stopped having him on my streams was purely because he was attacking people's traumas. And I would ask him over and over again to stop, and he claims I misrepresent that, whatever. But I think we've seen, my beef, and we still have a whole lot to cover. So, yeah.
So, thankfully, Shay is brilliant and an amazing human being and backed these things up.
So, for the record, I do want to let you know the archive that I just sent you through Google Drive are just cut down clips that I have. These are the same.
Well, it's the one-on-one discipleship clip that I was looking for, which you happen to have. So this is his claim that the one-on-one discipleship is how he treats, correct?
Yeah. Something also that's pretty interesting about that, I think either that clip or another one. He says that on the grander scheme of things, he doesn't actually give people a treatment method. What he does is he gives them a teaching method. And what this actually does is it removes any, what's the word I'm looking for, liability on his part. It's the same way that Jillian Eberly gets away with selling her Jilly juice to people. which I'm not sure if you know, is loaded with so much salt you drink that shit for a week, you get a stroke.
So, I'm going to go ahead and play this one-on-one discipleship thing, but I'm going to remind everyone that he claims he doesn't need to show his credentials because he's not practicing anymore, and I've seen several people make this claim in the chat. However, this is the video that he kept pointing everyone to. This is a clip from that video that he kept pointing everyone to, talking about the one-on-one discipleship idea as being essential for the proper treatment of anxiety, but because he's not using the word treatment, he's circumventing it to where he can prey on vulnerable people who have PTSD, anxiety, other mental health problems, and still skirt the edge of what is legal.
Also, if you tie this into the fact that he calls himself a prophet, it almost seems like he's trying to start this like new religion, almost kind of like a cult.
Naka, can you get Marty a link? I don't have contact outside of Discord at the moment, and I'm doing screen sharing, so I can't do much.
Because there's, if is it really the moment that's going on, or is it an unhealed trauma or negative experience that hasn't healed yet? And again, that process of healing, yeah, the teaching and trainings that we put out here for these things are great, but if you're really struggling with one of these things that we're discussing, I'm always available for mentorship and discipleship one-on-one, whether it be through Zoom or on a phone call or, even through email as a last resort. There's ways to sit there and get help and get answers for some of the things that you're individually dealing with, because everybody who has anxiety doesn't have it for the same reason. Everybody that has depression doesn't have it for the same reason. Everybody that has anger doesn't have it for the same reasons. So everybody's so unique that you really have to have that one-on-one back and forth conversation to really understand what that specific person's really struggling with. And then there is an answer. And they have to believe in their heart of hearts there is an answer. As well as, even if you look at James, it says, rejoice when you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Well, the perseverance comes because you're failing. Perseverance doesn't come because you're succeeding. You're not persevering with success. You're persevering from shortcomings and failures and mistakes and being embarrassed and feeling anxiety and feeling anger and feeling depressed and feeling all those things that don't feel good. So that's the perseverance. And then when perseverance has finished its work, which means you have reflected in a healthy way, you have developed new skills and abilities that you didn't have before, you have godly training that's useful for your life, then you're becoming mature and complete, not lacking anything. And again, that takes time. That's why discipleship is so important.
Not in any way providing any sort of treatment services whatsoever, huh? Out of practice. Discipleship, mentorship. If you are struggling from these problems, I am available to help you.
Can I also just... Hi, this is Raziel here. We're all sharing a fucking phone. But can I just point out that Messenger just said in the live stream with Aaron that time doesn't matter. It's whether or not you really believe in yourself. And yet, here he is stating it just takes time. What the fuck?
Boy, it is almost as if the honest people can be consistent. And if you are dishonest, it is much harder to be consistent. But
there's a clip in there where
my credentials, because I'm not treating people. So if somebody were to ask for my credentials for my forensics, right? I could deny them on two grounds. One, I currently do not have a physical copy of them, which is what I would show, because I lost it in the move to where I live now, from where I used to live in Florida. So I physically don't have the copy that I could show. Secondly, they're tied to my dead name, which causes me personal emotional issues. However, I have no issue proving that I have credentials in other manners. I'm not going to give out my dead name. That's not something you'd expect of me.
But I just wanted to mention that he's claiming that he's not providing any sort of mental health services, that he's not treating anyone. And yet in that stream right there, the one that he has since taken down because he's now creating what he claims to be a completely secular channel for this sort of messaging. He says right there, if you're hurting, contact me. I will help you through a one-on-one discipleship. We've already discussed how he will not discuss his methods, except that when he referred everyone to what is your cure, I have another clip here that I carved where he straight up says it's Jesus.
Well, and I mean, and this is what he does. Like, you know, when Shannon Q questioned him on my channel, what he offered her like 12 1-hour sessions a week or some shit like that, and she's like, yeah, I'm Shannon Q, I don't got that much time. Like, you know, he is never willing to relay his methodology. He's just like, you know, come and talk to me one-on-one, I'm gonna sell you.
So again, this is somebody who claims that he is not currently practicing, but makes offers in YouTube videos to bring his audience into, quote, discipleship to try to treat them. He also claimed in that other stream that his treatment method is not religious. But when Shannon challenged him on this, Shannon he has had many issues with, there are statements that, if you guys want me to clip them, I can, where he claimed that everybody's calling her the mental health savior and attacked her to her face, was very condescending. When Shannon challenged him, he said, watch this video, The Secrets of the Kingdom, Unplugged from Worldly Thinking. Well, here's what's in this video.
It says, to whom the Son sets free is free indeed. So if you're still saying I'm struggling with these things, but I'm free in Jesus, you're talking about two sides of your mouth. You can't sit there and say I'm fine in my heart and my mind is corrupt. No, your heart's just as corrupt as your mind. Your body's just as corrupted by what you do or you get tempted by. Don't feel bad about it. I'm not picking on you. I'm not putting you down. I'm like, you're still struggling with something, then there's an answer for it. There's a healing out there. There's a solution out there that you're unaware of, and you need to be seeking. That's what seeking the kingdom is. Seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all things will be given.
You hear that? Apparently, Shay, our PTSD is going to magically be cured if we accept Jesus into our lives.
Isn't that his biggest criticism, Shay? Is like, you always say that shit?
You're not, you didn't come through there for a sec.
Okay, yeah, like, if I pick up my mic, then it might be a little better, but I don't want to, like, pick it up, because then it's gonna rattle and, like, make a ton of noise. Not fun. But, yeah, he told Shannon straight up that it was all tied to religion, and then I went through his channel and I found all of these videos. Like, that one kind of touches the surface, but there's one in there where he says that you need to, instill your inner being with Christ's inner being, and that's the only way that you can free yourself from, like, all these, like, sort of negative behaviors. You won't sin anymore, you won't have anxiety, you won't get angry, you won't have depression, that kind of thing. It's a little farther in there, but touching the surface.
All right, Allie, you're running the show. Marty wants Elaine to come in and comment.
I actually asked you to take care of that a moment ago, because since I'm doing the share back and forth and I'm running everything, I need somebody else to take care of that.
All right, yeah, so I'll send the link. I just wanted to make sure it was okay. Okay.
If she wants to come in and say something really quick, then she's welcome to. We've got spots open. We're using Zoom. But I did actually play earlier, Jay, the clips where he claimed about his background and everything, and where he asked Jay about that and said, oh, well, I'll show it to you and your wife and da-da-da. But this isn't about, whether or not preachers, as the chat is talking, whether or not preachers should be able to provide services. Later on, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the background research that we've done and how we've been completely unable to find any sort of licensure for therapy on this subject. But the big thing here is he's offering to treat people online effectively. And that's the problem, because anybody who knows anything basic about the way that therapy works, generally, offering this sort of unsolicited advice online directly to people, the thing that he just did to Aaron in the clips that we saw before, that's considered highly unethical. Most professional counselors and therapists, that's considered a breach of ethics to do. Like, they will not even help their family and friends on that level, because to do so would be a breach of ethics, because those sorts of things are not protected under doctor-patient confidentiality and HIPAA, for one thing. And for another, in this sort of setting, it's public. Like, these things were just revealed about Aaron to the public eye. Aaron had a public meltdown, and he continued. That's not professional. So even if he does have this background, even if we grant that he has that, what he just did could get his license revoked if he had one.
All right, what's up,
Hey,
Marty?
welcome, Marty.
Hey guys, what's up? Real quick, I promise I'll be quick. Number one, I don't want to hold anybody up. Number two, my cats are freaking out because it's dinner time. Yeah, I don't know if maybe, I think it might be me and one other person in this whole chat room, probably the only ones who haven't had a problem with John. He did offer to help me with my stuff. There's the stream that was referenced what Lady Tasha was on. I was on that stream earlier, and Lady Tasha came in. So if anybody wants to know what I have going on, you can go check that out. I don't think that's fun. He did offer to help me, and you know, I mean, I don't know. I have to try and figure out how to explain this. I've never had a bad experience with him at all. I've never felt like he was coming for me, or like, you know, he was never like that with me at all. I don't know why I had a different experience than everybody else did. But
were you here for when we were playing that stuff that happened to Aaron earlier?
Yeah, I was on that stream live. I saw that happen live. So I caught all of that live. You know, I don't have any major traumas or anything like that. So I can't speak to that, but I haven't taken him up on the offer, number one, because trying to coordinate something with his time zone and my time zone and just lives just didn't actually work out, number one. Number two, I got a little kind of something in my gut said the word discipleship didn't sit right with me. I didn't understand quite what that meant.
Discipleship is inherently religious of some kind, or, you know, you're either being taught a trade or you're being taught a faith. That's generally what it means.
Well, and I've asked him. I mean, he knows I'm pagan. He knows that there was no converting, and I've asked him. I sat on a couple of his live streams of the unplugging from worldly thinking thing, and like, you know, he'll go on about whatever, and I say, well, can this apply to pagan? And he'll read my comment, and he goes, yeah, absolutely. Here's how. So it could have been something that could have applied to me as a pagan, but I didn't like the term discipleship. I didn't like the term being a disciple. But something about that didn't sit right with me. But aside from that,
well, there's an inherent power dynamic there, right? Like, you're not going to a professional to receive treatment where, you know, the person might be an expert and you're, you know, receiving therapy from them, but there's an exchange there, right? Like, you understand exactly what's inherent. Like, a disciple does not question the master generally, or if they do, it's to understand, not to.
He denies this repeatedly and attacks Shay for bringing it up nonstop, right? Like, no, this has nothing to do with Jesus Christ. This has nothing to do with religion, and yet even a person here, and Marty has had good experiences with Messenger Reveals, has nothing ill to say. That's why I brought her on. So Messenger can't say that I'm not allowing the conversation. But even she's sitting here saying, no, that didn't sit quite right with me, because this whole discipleship, you know, that's what Shay has criticized Messenger the most on, and it is what Messenger denies the most.
I mean, I think it's just that word. Like, if he would have just said, you know, I can mentor you and teach you how I got over certain things, and, you know, not everything that I did will work for you, but we can tailor, you know. Okay, but the word discipleship didn't something about that.
And you're not here trying to attack Messenger Reveals one bit, Marty. One bit.
No, that's why I wanted to jump in real quick. It says I'm not going to hold up the thing, because I haven't had any negative experiences with him at all. And even though I haven't taken him up on the offers, and when the last time I saw him, I think was the last time I was on Richard's channel, which was right after Neil Peart died, so about a month and change ago. no problem at all. Like it wasn't. He didn't like come at me. He didn't give me crap for not taking. Like I don't know what goes on that makes everybody else have a bad experience with him. I've had nothing but. I mean, I haven't had the same experiences that you guys have had. So that's why I wanted to say, real quick that I don't. I'm something I don't understand. Maybe you guys just don't have personalities that would or go together. Maybe it is. I don't know, but I mean I get along with all of you guys, and I get on with him too. But
and Marty, this is what I like about you. You're very open minded and you're accepting. And I try to be that with him. And we are going to continue. We have a lot more clips, but I tried so hard to tell him behind the scenes. Maybe I didn't do it hard enough. Maybe I wasn't direct enough. But dude, we have this friendship. We have this allyship. I think that was apparent at the beginning until this PTSD bullshit came up. I literally, Shay was literally trying to tell me what was going on in Suris's side chats. And it was like, hey, Rage, don't fucking be so close to this dude. And I kept giving him chance after chance after chance to the point to that it was like he just kept ignoring me. And even there, I was completely intoxicated during that conversation. And yet I clearly asked him, don't go after their personal shit again. And it was 3 minutes later, and he starts attacking their personal traumas. And that's the thing that I would be Marty, I wanted to tell you, and I'm glad you're here. Just be wary in your interactions with this man, because I don't think that he is what he claims to be. I think this is what we're here to say. And beyond that, he's very petty, and I'm going to show that at the end. He's very, very, very petty, and he hasn't cured himself. And if he hasn't cured himself, how could you expect him to cure anybody else? He claims to have cured himself. It's apparent he hasn't.
We all love you, Marty. By the way, we're still looking forward for that nerdy debate channel.
Yeah, that's what I need to email Richard about, because I need help trying to get it.
I am so looking forward to a debate on Kirk or Luke.
I emailed you, Knock, a month and a half ago.
Oh, I'm so bad at my emails.
I gave you my number.
Allie's helping me now.
Okay, guys, we do need to get going a little bit further, because we've got a few more clips that we need to address and a few more things that we need to go through. Thank you, Marty, for coming on and giving your perspective.
I just wanted to give, I just wanted to give it 2 cents. I didn't want to hold up.
Marty, I want to bring you on, and we'll talk about this debate channel that you're going to be setting up, because it's brilliant. It needs to happen. Awesome. We're going to make it happen.
Yeah, and give Allie my email address, Knock. Okay, good night, guys. Bye. I'll still be in the room.
All the way.
So, Messenger, just so you can say that I'm not being biased here, I am allowing other people to come on and talk about it. Let's continue.
That said, though, I do want to say something in response, because I was going through other clips in Shay's repository, because I didn't have access to this earlier, so I'm kind of making these determinations on the fly. I don't think it's a problem of not having meshing personalities, honestly, because there are two people now with complex PTSD that have been severely, severely triggered by messenger reveals when they stated they had this diagnosis. A professional, whether he has a degree or not, a professional would not do that to another person, much less a potential client, which both people he advertised his services to. Right? One of them even claims was considering his services until they reached out to Shay and asked Shay about it.
Yeah, speaking of that, I didn't tell her not to do it. I told her she can do whatever she wants, just she needs to be careful. I told her that she needs to look out for, proselytizing. I sent her some of the clips that I had, and that was basically it. She made the decision on her own. I mean, I guess you can say I pushed her a little bit, but it wasn't, you need to do this. You're gonna get hurt. Just gave her enough information to, she could make up her own mind. Did you hear me?
Yeah, I heard
I can hear you.
I'm sorry. I'm on my phone. I'm being a bad host.
Okay, so
that's okay. I'm halfway wishing Shay was on her phone.
So on the subject of veterans and PTSD, though, since we do have Aaron's chair, who is a veteran, one of the clips that Shay wonderfully just provided me was the clip that he claimed that it was not the experiences in the war that caused veteran PTSD. It was an lack of proper training. So he not only believes that he can cure PTSD, he also seems to think that he knows left, right, and center what causes it, which is one of the points we were going to bring up when it comes to science. So I figured that this is probably a good clip to start.
Remember, the aliens beamed this knowledge into his head. Of course he's right.
Oh, we'll get to that later. Did you ever get me that clip, by the way?
No. I know where it is, but I was asking Tony Designs to send me the clip, and he asked me that. So.
Got that shirtless Dragnot there. This is back in the old days.
Oh, he's still shirtless most of the time.
With military members suffering from PTSD is not what they go through in the war, but what their preparation and before they go to it.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. Well, let me finish. If I took military members through a training course for 12 weeks, very few would ever come back with PTSD.
That's some bold claims right there.
Wow. Why
there,
isn't the U.S. government hiring this dude right now?
Because if he gave his information to the United States government, then they would use that information for further abuse. And something, snake flag, don't tread on me.
like that's a Nobel Prize right there, I think, right?
Growlith, do you think maybe you could not? That'd be great.
I want a dog. I want a puppy.
So while we're on the subject of his so-called PTSD expertise, let's go ahead and take a look at whether or not he thinks that there's a biological basis for PTSD. Because, well, right now in this call, there's at least 3 of us that have it, correct? Shay, you have it. Aaron, you have it. I have it. If there's other people here who have it who would like to speak up, then they're welcome to speak up as well. But there's at least 3 people here who all have publicly confirmed that we have PTSD.
Yeah, I don't have it. I have people in my life that do.
All right. So we've got 3 people here who have PTSD. Shay, you've gone through some level of therapy for yours, right? Is PTSD physical? Did your therapist, counselors, etc., did they tell you it was physical?
The research that I've gone through said it was physical. It also stated that there were genetic factors that go into it. I was going through therapy, but I'm not currently.
Okay. Well, I said you have been through therapy, though. You mentioned that on the stream.
Yeah, I was. Therapy and me have a very awkward relationship. Like, as you know,
that's fair.
As you know, that came out a little while ago. Every time that those feelings came up, I was in a real bad denial phase, right?
Yeah.
So anytime those feelings came up, I
you're
got out of therapy. It took a lot of effort to finally push myself through.
Well, unfortunately, Aaron had to get up really quick. But we've seen clips where Aaron argued it is most definitely physical. Suris, in your research, is PTSD physical?
Most of my treatment's been medication, not gonna lie.
So there's a couple things. One, on a very base level, anything neurological is physical, unless you want to argue for substance dualism of the mind. But that wouldn't be science-based. That's a philosophical position. Secondly, the other thing that needs to be addressed here is, while we don't have conclusive evidence of PTSD manifesting because of biological reasons specifically and only, we have found a link recently in 2017 that shows that the amygdalin portion of the brain on the right side generally is 6% larger in people who have PTSD, leading us to believe, now granted, we are still determining if this is the case, but it's leading a lot of scientists to believe that people who have that 6% increase in their amygdalin size, it causes it to be more overactive, generally are more prone to PTSD when they encounter traumatic events. There is a much higher chance that they will ultimately develop PTSD because they have a biological bias towards it, the same way that people have a biological bias towards something like cancer.
Or depression or anxiety, which we do have strong, physiological links for on both fronts.
So And again, at a very basic level, if somebody wants to argue that it's not physical, the counter argument to that is, okay, well, if you're going to argue for substance dualism, then you're no longer in the realm of science. You are now committing the categoriest of category errors.
So, like, we can all agree that PTSD definitely has a biological basis.
Yeah.
Even on the most basic level, when it comes to even how physical cognition works, combination of like neurotransmitters and, neuron firing, etc. All right, so let's see what our so-called expert thinks. All right. Let me know if you guys can't hear things, because this might get grumpy, but let's go ahead and see what he thinks.
I know schizophrenics that have been in remission for half a decade before.
Well, schizophrenia is a very different disorder, just like bipolar 1 disorder is. See,
Sure.
Post-traumatic stress disorder is not a biological problem. It's a cognitive and emotional problem that affects the biology.
Okay, so does anybody know what the hell he means?
It's literally goalpost moving. It's saying it's not a biological problem. It's a psychological problem that affects the biology. That's just moving the goalpost to the psychological part. But here's the thing. That psychological problem, after it's happened due to a lovely phenomenon known as neuroplasticity, the brain has this wonderful ability to adapt to its psychology. So things that begin as mere synapses have this awkward tendency to manifest physiologically over time as the brain's neuroplasticity adapts to it. This is a well-documented and well-understood phenomenon. This is not news to anyone.
Okay, so we can all agree that clearly he's claiming that, okay, it's a physiological, it's an emotional and psychological problem that affects the physiology.
Which makes it a physiological problem at that point.
How exactly does one separate those two? When you're talking about the way that physiologically our bodies responds to things, right? What is a panic attack but a massive flood of cortisol that has overtaken your body along with a bunch of neuron firing from the amygdala? Like, you might experience it as a flood of rushing thoughts and a pumping heartbeat and other things from the release of adrenaline and other such things. But ultimately, what are any of those experiences but neuron firings in your brain? Even if you argue dualism, even if you believe in a soul, as I do, that soul is still experiencing all of this through the medium of the body. Regardless, you can still measure in the body that these things are happening.
You can't unmeat sack yourself. Stop trying.
Pretty much, like, I'm saying this from a theistic perspective, as somebody who believes in the soul, that, like, I still acknowledge that all of those experiences are still happening in my body, that my body is what makes them possible. If you were to lobotomize me, as I was joking about earlier, I would lose the ability to experience those things, because my brain, that meat sack, would no longer be capable of cognition. So, all right, so we've talked at length about some of the claims that he's made about, having a cure for PTSD. He's got a basis that he claims for this cure. It's, what was it? He claims to have a universal model of human psychology.
The universal model of human behavior that was given.
Yeah, universal model of human behavior.
What's it called? Divine revelation or aliens, depending on which.
Well, I'm not sure if this clip is where he says that it came from divine revelation. We're still waiting on that clip, but he still claims to have one. Now, I'm going to go ahead and ask Suris, since Aaron isn't here. When Aaron gets back, Aaron's got more qualifications than I do to talk about this. But even in a Psych 101 course, they'll tell you pretty quickly that there really isn't a universal model for human behavior, not in the least because socioeconomic factors such as culture change the way that humans respond to things. Like, even the most basic education on anything whatsoever will teach you that.
Yeah, it's the same thing that goes into, like, the when you look into the psychology of police officers, for instance, the region that a police officer is involved in, the weapons that a police officer has, all of these things have, and the media that the officer has consumed, all of these things are factors that play into the psychology of the police officer. And many of these things are sociological. Many of these things are physiological. Some of these things are down just simply to the articles of clothing they're wearing. And these things affect our primary response to things. If a universal model exists for human behavior, this universal model has to be able to take in every single one of these variables down to the type of clothing you are wearing.
Well, and the
I'm sorry,
experiences
we
that
don't.
you've had. Like,
Yes.
and every single individual human memory and how your cultural training has caused you to change your narrative to interpret those things. Because keep in mind, I'm a big fan of CBT. I've gone through CBT myself. I've also gone through EMDR to treat my PTSD because different evidence-based therapies work differently for different people. If you could magically predict how every single one of these treatments could, work, then wouldn't we be able to get everybody who has PTSD completely stable? Like, why would you not share that?
Wait, that was my major point against him. It was like,
don't tread on me, government bad.
Yeah, like so many.
Oh, well, we've got that clip too now, Suris.
Shay, you was here. Wasn't his excuse is some government conspiracy would like?
Okay. I'm telling you, Knock, that's the clip that's coming up next. But I'm talking about why.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
I'm going to mute myself so I can take Growlithe out real quick. She's very adamant about it.
Okay, clearly I can hear it.
For the record, when it comes to his divine revelation stuff, that happened on GDC, and it's actually in the archive that I sent you right now. If you go to the folder labeled Messenger versus the World, that was the name of the stream on GDC.
Okay. All right. So here, guys, now that we've sort of discussed why,
whoa, big time.
AR, damn. Now that we've sort of discussed why this claim is kind of ridiculous, let's go ahead and prove that the claim has been made so that we can start digging into where he got this idea from, or where he says he does, and what that might mean for the rest of us when we're putting everything that he's claiming he can do into context. We'll put it that way.
Okay, so you're purporting that you have this system that is more efficacious than what you perceive to be the standard in the field, but you don't want to make time to actually put it through its paces and produce something that could potentially revolutionize the field and actually help patients and, by your words, cure what's actually happening.
It would, because it's a universal model for human behavior, which does not exist out in the field right now.
All right, so there we go. We admit in this clip that currently a universal model for human behavior does not exist in the field. I wonder why that is.
Because
Progressive Liberal just was kind enough to send me the most recent claim that he made.
Was that the one we were talking about before stream?
We wouldn't be researching anything in the field of psychology.
I just.
We would literally know everything.
At the very end of this, guys, I'm gonna show some side chat comments from Messenger about me, and I tried to be the guy's friend. I tried, and yeah, we're gonna get there. Fuck, man, Messenger, you suck.
Yeah. All right, so guys,
caused me to be homeless.
All right, guys, so here's where he makes the claim that this universal model of human behavior came from a divine revelation. So this is where we get into, when we say Messenger claims to be a prophet, let's let him tell us all about it.
What do you have an understanding of that you did not receive from another human being?
Wait, no. That's not the definition.
You added a whole other layer onto that.
Yeah. So are you saying that the knowledge that you reveal as truth is through divine revelation?
Yes.
So that's the prophet part.
Do we learn
self-awareness?
So then are you saying then that your definition of prophet is somebody who reveals truth that is accessible only by divine revelation?
Something other than other human beings prior to it being there, yes.
All right. So there we go. And in case he's a bit concerned that that's a very long time ago, let's go ahead and hear more recent Messenger. If you notice on that stream, this was streamed about 2 weeks ago. on another friend of the channel who hosted me last night.
I watched it live.
To talk about the organization behind a lot of anti-LGBT legislation. Which, if you haven't watched that, guys, go back and watch the VOD. It's long. It's gets a little lost in the weeds a bit, but it's super important to understand like what's going on in government if you're worried about loved ones who are LGBT and where they might fare with this current administration. Like, that'll arm you with lots of info. But plugging aside, let's go ahead and let recent Messenger talk for himself.
Sure.
But I think this is accurate. So number one, you had a vision that bestowed upon you an understanding of behavioral science that no human being has ever had before, or you are simply essentially the Albert Einstein of behavioral science.
I kind of made that joke. I think I said something to the effect of, you know, I had a vision, and I talked about the vision to where I woke up. I had a new and deeper understanding of human behavior in a way that I never had before. So I did share that, and I said, and then, you know, when I've had other people challenge it and say, well, you know, if God doesn't exist, then what? I'm like, well, call it aliens, call it an engineer of human beings, call it you know, some other thing that we just don't understand. I don't really care what you call it. I just don't understand how to explain how I have a different perspective and understanding of human behavior different than I did the day before.
Right.
Other than maybe I'm the Einstein of psychology and human behavior, and I'm just that fucking brilliant. But those were just ors, you know. So it was funny when people heard those things, they all of a sudden said, "Oh, he has aliens beaming things to his head, or he has this going on." I'm like, you know, again, people like to straw man and have fun. I don't care. It's not my problem.
All right, guys. So people like the straw man, blah, blah, blah. But I played the clip where he claimed that it was divine revelation before. So are we straw manning, guys? Or are we being gaslit? Let's go ahead and let the chat decide.
I think he's like covering his ass. That's what I think. I'm very sick. Man, I am very sick. Pardon me, but I think he's covering his ass.
Well, and while we're on the subject of Messenger thinking is better than everybody else, you guys remember, those of you that were here from the beginning, you guys remember how he popped off on Aaron, right? How when Shay warned him that he was setting Aaron off, he said that it wasn't about her, it was about the truth, right? All right. Well, Messenger claims that he doesn't feel human emotions, and in case he's telling me that I'm going to be straw manning him, let's go ahead and let him say it himself.
Okay. Fair enough. Finally, you said you haven't felt emotions like remorse, anger, fear, regret, hatred, or other negative emotions for a long time, and I want to know if that's still true.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Okay. Enough said. Now that Aaron's back, Aaron, things that you've missed, I don't know if you've been watching, have you been kind of keeping up with stuff, or were you just getting your tattoo care done? Like, are you kind of caught up to where we are?
I'm a little behind. I had to get some tattoo care done because fresh tattoo as of today, so life is interesting, especially when the dog digs her claws into it.
The nine-tailed fox is amazing. We're just gonna say that again.
That was fun. All right, so what we have gone through now is lovely Shay is freaking amazing and is the best archivist the internet has ever asked for, and we've been going
She
through...
really is.
Yes, and Shay needs to stop shitting all over herself because she's the reason why we've been able to go after the NIFB as a community, even before I ever came in. She's the reason why we've got so many of these lovely clips. Progressive Liberal, shout out to you for having tagged both of these things for me. Thank you so much. We were trying to find somebody to do that, and you are an amazing friend of the channel and a real trooper. We just played a clip where he claimed that he could not...
Let's be real, though. Tony is the real archivist right now, all right? He took up the mantle after I, taken this really long-ass break.
Well, and you know what? Tony's awesome too, and Tony has been in Messenger's sites. We're still negotiating with him about whether or not he wants to air his grievances, or if this is going to be the last time our channel ever mentions anything. But Aaron,
I would definitely be willing to let Tony come on and talk some shit. So like, Aaron, we played the clip where he claims that, as somebody who's got some experience in this field a little bit, right? Like, you've got some education from your biochemistry degree, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I study psychology sometimes for fun.
Okay, so I'm going to bow to a little bit of expertise here because currently you're the one in the room who has a degree and who has some level of study, and I'm going to believe that it is genuinely likely that you did study psychology enough to be able to answer these questions. And by the way, Aaron, proper pronouns, I've been using they, them. Is that correct?
They, them's appropriate for now. It shifts depending on.
Okay, well, I've been trying to use they, them because I didn't know if it was they or she, because I'm fluid also, but I don't tend to bother with pronouns all that much, so I'm just making
It's they or she unless I'm in. Jesus Christ, dog. I'm sorry. It's they or she unless I'm in a more masculine headspace, and then my name is Leon. Like, it completely shifts.
Okay, well, I'm making sure that they, them was appropriate because that's what I've been using for most of the stream. I'm just making sure. So, there were several claims that we examined. One of them was that PTSD was not a biological problem. It was and I don't know what this means, and I'm hoping that you might be able to explain this to me because Suris and I were having a hard time figuring it out, and AR wasn't really sure. But he claims that it's a psychological problem with biological effects.
Okay, so hear me out. I'm trying not to yell. If it is a psychological problem with biological effects, funny thing, most psychological conditions cause biological changes to the brain, which makes them an illness because things are actually changing, which means it's biological, which means what? It is physical at that point. What?
What a fucking coincidence.
Yeah. And so for those of you who don't know, by the way, if you've somehow lived under a rock or don't hang out on that side of the community, Suris and Aaron live together. So if you're seeing cats, in one room and then the other, that's because they're in the same house right now.
Yeah, like they're literally just the dog that was behind Suris's couch was the one who chased the cat into my space. Suris actually just came in.
So
from walking the dog to stop that from happening, but she has some major freaking zoomies right now. Holy crap. She ran laps around the yard and did not stop.
Keep her away from my thigh.
So the other some of the other claims that we addressed was we talked about the discipleship thing. Claiming that he no longer practices and provides mental health services, and then on a stream talking about anxiety says, if you're struggling with anxiety and depression, reach out to me and I'll give you one-on-one discipleship. Can you please try to explain to me what the difference between providing mental health services are and claiming that you can help somebody with anxiety from a clinical setting?
There's not. From a clinical setting, if you're saying I can help with your anxiety versus I am treating your anxiety.
Those are the same thing. It's just one doesn't require you to be legally palpable or culpable, rather.
That's all it comes down to is legality. Because it's like supplements. You could claim supplements are there to help with things. You could put whatever the frick you want in them, but you can claim they're there to help things but not treat. You can't claim that they treat anything.
And thus, supplements can be unregulated in the United States.
Yeah, I have a lot of issues with that. But moving on.
So the other thing that we did was we addressed the claim that he had a prophetic vision, and he joked about, I guess, that it could have been aliens if you don't believe in God or blah, blah, blah. But then he claimed that people were straw manning him. So we played the original clip where in the GDC, he claimed that he had a prophetic vision. And then the clip where he tried to claim later that that was not the case. So I'm curious if the people in the room here are interested in him explaining what that prophetic vision was. Because I've actually got that clip now too.
I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Are all the lights dimmer? No? I didn't think so either. How about now? Are the lights dimmer now? I mean, they're gas lights. I would think they would be dimmer at this point.
Can we get a round of applause from the chat? And a hail Priapus from our Discord users. Just because he has not been hailed yet in this chat, and his blessings are going to be necessary to get through the absolute hellscape that we're going. Because we're not even back to the original streams yet. We're just dealing with the claims that he claimed in that first clip are not true. using his words. People said, can you provide video evidence? The answer is because AR is a fantastic archivist, because we are a community and we came together, because Tony Designs and Progressive Liberal and Aaron and Raz and Suris and Nock and I all worked together to get all of this evidence. We have his words, not our claims about them, his fucking words to show you all tonight, because we're all tired of being gaslit. And honestly, as a community, at the end of this stream, we're going to have something to say about that, because there's a reason we're doing this. And it's not just to shit on somebody. Because honestly, I'm not all that interested in shitting on people. I mean, I occasionally enjoy it when somebody manages to piss me off.
Oh, I thought you were going in a completely different direction with that. I am so glad that did not go that way. Anyway, continue. I don't kink shame anybody.
Okay, just because you have a sponsorship from DDLG Playground does not mean that is what I'm talking about, Suris.
I also happen to have one from Raid Shadow Legends now.
Who doesn't have one from Raid Shadow Legends?
Me.
Nakasuchi?
Yet. I mean, to be fair, we can't have a sponsorship from anybody because YouTube thinks that we're a bunch of hate mongers. So who fucking knows?
To be fair, I'm not allowed to disclose how much Raid gave me, but it's less than what my YouTube revenue is, and my YouTube revenue barely pays for groceries. So, just that's not to say anything bad about Raid. That's just to say that realistically, yeah, I have that sponsorship, but it's not worth a whole lot.
All right, so coming back to that, are you guys interested? Like, I've got about 38 seconds of what's going on with this vision. Aren't you guys just so morbidly curious?
Not really.
I'm thinking about taking more medicine.
Well, unfortunately, he's claiming that, that this isn't that big of a deal, but this is also the basis for his so-called cure, right? So if we're going to try to get to the bottom of what his cure is, shouldn't we know? Because apparently this is how it came to him, right?
I want to die.
No.
I do believe that I have a message for humanity. I absolutely do.
What's the message?
For all of humanity, then?
David.
All of humanity. Anybody who's willing to learn and grow. Absolutely.
Okay. Did you receive this in a prophetic vision?
Yes.
And how did you receive this?
I woke up one morning in November of 2005 with an understanding of things that I didn't previously have.
Such as?
How and why we are as a human race, why we act and behave the way we do, why we make decisions and choose things, where those things originate from, and how to change and transform those things so that you can become more perfect in your nature.
All right, guys. So, yeah, he still hasn't explained what it is that he's had revealed to him, but apparently he alone, our prophet, our messenger, knows how humans work. Let's go ahead and dig into this a little bit.
Well, I mean, like you think it like if Yahweh was giving him such grand visions, that his YouTube channel would have taken off by now.
I mean,
entirely fair point.
Here's how you. So I'm actually no. This is consistent with the biblical narrative, because part of the biblical narrative is to only show your message to such a remote and isolated community of people that the likelihood that it will actually spread outside of that community is infinitesimal. And yet, beyond all odds, if you have faith, maybe it will. I mean, that's actually pretty consistent with what actually happened with Christianity. Let's be fair.
I agree.
All right, so
this way.
He says he's got this message for the world, so why doesn't he give it to the world in the form of peer-reviewed research? So, does anybody here know?
Or maybe
we
just
have an answer to this question?
Maybe just one person he's cured could come forward and be like, "Yep, I'm cured." But even then, we have an issue because, like, I think it was pointed out to him several times.
Well, the plural of evidence is not anecdote.
Well, I think it's been pointed out to him several times. Like, even if, like, you've been doing this for like 10, 15 years, and these people have been had remarkable results. It's not a cure until they go through their entire lives without a trigger, right? It's not a cure until they go their entire lives without some form of symptom from this thing. So you don't even have the data to state that it's a cure.
He doesn't need evidence. No.
Okay, but guys, like,
if I may, even when you are asymptomatic, your amygdala still it's still enlarged, it's still overproducing, it's still going through all the procedures that you may not be showing your symptoms, but you are still dealing with it in your own brain through chemical. I'm trying not to be annoyed.
It's very hard not to be annoyed because, like, as a professional, he should know all this shit, right? Like, he should know this.
Well, but here, like, let's step back for a second. Let's grant, for just the sake of argument, just for right now, as much as it's going to try to make, as much as most of our skulls are going to want to go blow out and we're going to all have to clean up brains later, maybe that he might actually have this cure. Let's accept that, even though it sucks. Messenger, why don't you want to reveal this cure to the world?
The thing that I think is weird is that you're using the word cured in relation to something that is has a lot of convention of not being able to be cured and only managed. So when you're saying that you've been able to cure it and not and that's the term that you're using as an expert in the field, I'm wondering why you're using that language and whether or not you have the ability to back yourself up on that.
And the reason being is because people want to stay in this constant state of victimization. They don't want real healing. They don't want real growth. They don't want to be free from it. They want somebody to blame for it.
That's not an answer. Then again, that's also not that one's not the government one either.
Nope, that's just one of them. So there's Messenger. Why don't you want to reveal that? Okay, well, people just don't want a cure. People just don't want a cure.
I know
Yeah, it gets worse though.
All right, so here's round 2. Messenger, now that you've been confronted once and dodged the question, why exactly don't you want to offer the world a cure again?
So then that still doesn't give me a reason as to really why you would not publish it, so that people like Shannon and others who are curious, that they can look at it and go, oh, okay, sure, I see exactly what he's talking about.
The simple answer is this, and nobody's going to like it. The simple answer is this. If you guys understood, and the world understands how and why we act the way we do, there's going to be people in positions of power and authority that abuse it.
Well,
It's
I
the
believe that there's
government.
actually... I believe there's a name for this fallacy.
They're going to turn the freaking frogs gay. You don't understand. They're trying to do it. They're trying to transgender the youth. That's what I heard.
It's called paranoia.
I mean, is the Trump
It's
administration
an appeal to
even smart
conspiracy
enough?
fallacy.
I'm just going to call it paranoia. Even if it's to appeal to conspiracy fallacy, as far as like argumentation goes, it's also a sign of paranoia.
I mean, so it's a sign of paranoia, but the thing is that paranoia is something that has to be internalized, whereas this isn't necessarily something that has to be internalized.
It could just be a way to scare other people out of,
Well, let's also add, based on other like statements and evidences that Messenger has placed out, show signs of extreme paranoia to the point that I could see it actually fully impacting this man's life, which concerns me quite a bit, because then it's like you want us to stop letting a mental illness that changes our biology control us, because it changes part of the brain that's changing biology. You want this to stop controlling us, but you're turning around and doing the exact same thing.
Which actually brings me to another clip, right? Like, we had somebody in the chat earlier, actually Doubting Thomas, who came into that stream that we've been clipping from and had a few criticisms for Messenger. Now, Messenger's claiming that people in positions of power and authority are going to manipulate his so-called cures, and that's the reason he won't share them. But the thing is, what exactly do you think that is when you're using your experience and your knowledge to gaslight people? Right? I'm trying to find the clip again really quick because I think I might have lost it. But if you guys want to continue that discussion for a second while I find it really quick, I'm going to go ahead and grab the clip of when Doubting Thomas comes in.
Well, I think that Messenger is really good at giving excuses why he can't provide data for this cure that he proclaimed to have, that wasn't coaxed out of him, that created a shitstorm on my channel for about 6 months, and got to the point that I had to literally stop associating with the man. I don't understand it. You showed the clip of Ocean talking to him about his usage of the words, and just, maybe use a different word, and he just wouldn't do it. He's so stubborn and so set in his ways that he's refusing to bend any ground whatsoever. Shay, you are really loud except for the wind. Or really low except for the wind.
All I heard was the wind, sweetie.
Now you're completely muted.
Well, that's because I muted her because the noise was getting so bad. It should give her a warning when I do that. So I do have a few more clips, but I wanted to let I wanted to let it kind of rest here for a moment, because we presented both the source of where he claims his treatment comes from, which, if you're claiming to be a clinical therapist, clinical, not religious, because people are saying, is he a Christian counselor? He claims to be a clinical therapist. He claims that he's no longer practicing, but he also put out the invitation to invite new patients through what he calls discipleship, which is ultimately just supposedly a treatment plan. We've seen him gaslight and attack somebody he was trying to woo as a potential client. We've seen him claim that people are blowing his idea of a divine vision out of proportion and making fun of him. We've seen him try to restructure the narrative to Shay was the one who triggered Aaron when Shay tried to get him to stop. Now, I want to ask, regardless of whether or not he does have credentials, what does that tell us about the nature of the person we're dealing with here? What conclusions do we as people make? Now, we're not trying to tell you guys what to think. But I'm asking, given the evidence that you've seen, side chat, we'll read some of your responses shortly. What do you see? Naka, what do you see? Shay, what do you see?
I see a man that has clearly been trained and educated, using it against people to make his point and to try to further his cause. And I gave him every benefit of the doubt and grew to regret that decision thoroughly.
Shay, I would love to listen to everything you're saying, but it is a...
Yeah, you're totally muted.
Again? I'm just totally muted.
Now we hear you.
Coming through it all?
Still
you're coming through now, just really low.
How about now?
Better.
Now?
Better. Just don't ever move.
I don't... Okay. I hate my...
Life? Me too.
Yeah, because now you're completely muted again.
God damn.
Now we hear you.
Is it better? Is it better?
We hear you. Yeah.
Is it better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, what I see is a charlatan. I see somebody who is uses this like fucking victim blaming in order to like pull people in. He makes people feel desperate. He makes people feel like there's no other way to get treatment. He makes them doubt what their evidence-based treatment in order to pull them in. Oh, I thought that was like my mic cutting out again. And
this is actually the best your audio's been all stream.
Finally. Now that I lost my train of thought, there's that. When people call him out, he gaslights. He tries to manipulate the narrative any way he can, and pulling it all around. He's an abusive person and a charlatan. It's as simple as that, really.
Suris, what do you think?
I think he thinks Nutella is delicious.
Looks good.
What did I miss?
I asked.
Delicious.
I said, given everything that we've presented, which, by the way, I found the Doubting Thomas clips, which Doubting Thomas is currently in our side chat. But I actually, Suris and I had a very interesting discussion that we didn't originally plan to bring up until we had the discussion just before stream, when we were kind of getting all the clips synchronized and set up, because we were going to run the stream a bit differently before, when we were going to do a simul stream. And then, as I said, there were some technical problems and scheduling conflicts and things. So, we originally, when I called him, we were trying to get that set up. But we ended up talking a little bit about kind of where we wanted this discussion to go and what the purpose of tonight was going to be. And one of the things that got brought up was, AR said the word abusive, which, granted, abusive can potentially lead to a libel lawsuit. So if you're saying that this is just your opinion and that you're not making any accusations, then that's fine. And I'm going to say that that is the position of the channel. But I would like to present something on that subject, that he's so afraid that the government is going to be using this knowledge of his for nefarious purposes. Aaron, one of the things that you and I have talked about is that enough of what he says is true from a clinical sense for what isn't true to be dangerous, right? Like, this is one of the reasons why we decided to tackle these claims.
Mm-hmm.
Because he does operate from some of the principles of CBT, which is why some people in the chat were like, I kind of agree with him, until he tipped the scale to where it got dangerous and triggered the fuck out of you, right?
Right. Like, people were like, oh no, this isn't bad, until it's like, oh no, something's wrong with Aaron. What?
It isn't bad until it is.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
Do several streams.
Like on Sticks and Stonehenge, we're working on tackling the nutrition stuff that what was it called? Fucking spirit science. Enough of what they say is true for the proclamations that they make later and the fallacious conclusions that they make later to be dangerous. And that's the case with Messenger. He clearly has had some level of education. Maybe he really does have a master's, like Jake claims. Maybe he really does. If so, let's go ahead and recontextualize what happened that night to somebody who decided to come on and have a few things to say, about his presentation.
But that's it.
A couple. See, this man is fucking drunk.
Already? What do you mean already?
Now Vegeta's being hyperbolic.
1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, so I want to shift my conversation over to Doubting Thomas, who is here now. I'm done with you, Vegeta.
Why was Vegeta
not good enough for you?
I don't know if Vegeta was done.
Wait, Vegeta, you're done.
I haven't even busted my nut yet.
Wait,
Saint
no,
Seiya.
you're dismissed. You're dismissed, son. Dismissed, son.
I see how it is.
What's going on with the Federation of the Pagan Virtues?
No, don't switch it over to Federation. I'm talking to you, Doubting Thomas.
Yeah, wait,
All right.
hold on. Wait. Platforming. So I have actually confirmed what Tony Design said when I said, why would you platform it up?
I'm so confused.
No,
I got no idea what you're saying, bro.
It's based on a comment. It's based on a comment that Tony Designs put in a comment thread on my last stream. Anyway, yeah, go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
No, my question for Doubting Thomas is this. Every time you and I have had a live chat conversation, it seems to go kind of fairly well. The few times I've seen you either comment about me or talk about me when I'm not around, it seems like you have an issue with me. So I'm just trying to understand, like, do we get along and you kind of like some of the things I have to share, or are you like, fuck that guy?
Well, here's how it is. I kind of thought you were full of shit when I first met you.
Okay.
And then I thought, well, maybe you're not full of shit. And now I'm going the other way again. But I'm
is Tony Designs fucking with your head?
I'm trying to I'm trying to put a target on you. I haven't got you figured out yet.
It's got to be Tony's fault, right?
Yeah,
it's got to be Tony.
I could practically practically smell that you were going to want to say something there, Suris. Remember what Aaron was just saying about paranoia?
Is it that Tony Designs guy? Is he
We can't make this shit
telling
up.
you about me?
I totally forgot that he made that accusation there. I brought this up to bring up the manipulative behavior that's about to follow. I completely forgot that he also showed his paranoid conspiracy theory butt here. So there you guys go. There's a bonus support to our point. Let's go ahead and continue. But I had to pause there because I didn't even remember that was there.
The only way to figure somebody out is to ask questions in a genuine way. That's the only way to do it.
No, and I remember being pretty adversarial to you the last time I came across you because I think I was. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm just laughing because the way Doubting Thomas came up, he says, "Well, the first time I thought you were full of shit. Second time, I didn't think you were full of shit."
Hey, man.
The other way.
John, if you're accusing me of talking behind your back, there might be some of that going on. I don't know. I'm human, but I don't have any problem talking to your face either, man.
2,000 years from now, everybody's gonna saying the deep thoughts of Doubting Thomas. I thought you were full of shit.
So much drunkenness in this stream.
Sorry.
That's why I got it on 1.5.
No, I'm sorry.
No apologies.
I just got a kick out of that. That was
Jay laughing is fucking
I don't
with my
have
signals.
around here. All I can do is put my cock in his mouth, but I'm not in the mood for that.
Let me just hold on 1 second.
I forgot. Trigger warning. Wujita, there's some really, really homophobic rhetoric that comes up in the side chat here, which I am capturing. And there's also some racist jokes that come up during this segment. I'm going to do my best to try to skip over them if I remember that they're about to pop up. But for anybody who might be upset by that, I'm warning that this happens. This confirmed that kicking Wujita off the stream, off of the channel, was probably a very good thing.
My own goddamn. I'm gonna go put the proverbial ball gag in my mouth by just muting myself.
Oh yeah, that's hot.
Why would you do that, man?
Because I'm laughing.
Because his wife just walked in the room with the paddle and it's time.
Oh, all right.
No, because out of this entire conversation, out of all the things that we've been talking about, Doubting Thomas said the funniest thing ever. At first, I thought you were full of shit, and then I was leading that you weren't so full of shit, and now I'm leading the other way.
That's like a goddamn political campaign.
Oh, fuck. Well, I am humorous.
So Doubting Thomas, let's go ahead and air your grievances towards me. Come on, get them out.
Oh no, I think where we clashed was we were in a chat and you were saying that that other guy, you were defending him, and I didn't think you should have been.
Are you talking about like when I was on ProLib's channel and I wasn't defending a person, I was defending a title and a. You gotta unmute yourself, buddy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me unmute him. He may
Stop
not be.
fucking around, Jay. I'm just joking.
I don't know.
Okay, I just skipped over a discussion.
He's still muted because I can see
you have to.
I don't think he
Discussion,
does.
like basically all Jay does there
No, he
is
can
tell
unmute
him
himself.
to
It's not like
talk
Hangouts. You
about
can
Steve
unmute yourself.
McRae.
You can unmute yourself, Doubting Thomas. Even if I mute you, you can unmute yourself. Even though I have.
Oh yeah, I just had to switch screens. I forgot.
Yeah, not a big deal. Just wanted to tell you, if I mute you, it's the same thing like what happened with John. I muted him and he came right back on, and then I muted him again. So if I mute, all I wanted to do was just clarify that I do not want to talk about.
Yes,
I do not want to talk about Steve on this channel because I still have some respect for that particular individual, and I do not.
That's cool.
I do not want to step into that bullshit.
That's why I didn't mention his name. Jay.
Yes, but you're talking about a topic that pertains to him.
Yeah, it's good, man. I hear you loud and clear.
Yep, cool.
So that's why I asked. I said, "Hey, Thomas, was there any other issues besides?" And I said, "If you want to have a private conversation, feel free to email me, DM me, whatever on Discord." But were there any other issues in regard to me that you have the whole "he's full of bullshit" kind of feeling?
Well, yeah, of course there are.
Such as?
Cool.
I don't really know how to put my finger on it, but I think you have a bit of a messiah complex, and I'm not really too sure what to think about it.
Well, are you believing that because I'm displaying myself in a harsh way or a confident way towards certain individuals that I think that I'm better than they are?
Oh no, I think it's deeper than that.
Deeper than better than somebody?
No, more like
no, Jay, let him articulate.
Okay.
No, you can help me if you want.
No helping.
I don't know. No. I think it's best to just let you figure it out. I'm sorry. Yeah, John's right.
No, it's just a feeling I have after watching you for a while.
Well, I mean,
and watching how you kind of operate, and just seeing the way you interact with people. That's just the opinion that I formed. That's all.
Your opinions are fair, and they always are. Like even Tony Design's opinions are fair, and I say that they're fair in this way. Anytime that we are hearing somebody or observing somebody, we're relating it based on our prior knowledge and experience and what it reminds us of. So anytime you're evaluating another human being, they're reminding you of something of your past. That's something to be
cognitively aware of for this reason. You don't want to sit there and go, person A is person B from the past. Person A is person X from the past. Because when you do that, then you draw what we call illusory correlations. And then if you feel negatively or positively towards that person in the past, then you're erroneously transferring those feelings towards person in the current present, rather than being more curious to go, I really need to dissect this individual for the individual person that they are. So if I remind you of shit that seems Messiah complex, I'm like, that's fair. I remind you of somebody who's displayed themselves in those way. But I can also say, I'm not person X. I'm my own unique individual, just like you're your own unique individual.
Right. But your thing that you're calling person X, that's how I see you.
But who is the Messiah complex that I remind you of?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
No. Other human beings have portrayed themselves in those ways that you have personal experience. You never met fucking Jesus Christ. You didn't experience Jesus. You didn't see Jesus carrying himself in what people would consider an arrogant or a haughty or above others type of way.
Are you familiar with the term Messiah in Messiah complex?
Messiah complex is a chosen one. But what he's asking, but okay, just to be fair, so I can moderate here a little bit, he's asking, what is it from your experience that would draw you to the conclusion that he has a Messiah complex based on what you've actually experienced in the past?
I think I already said that. I can't quite put my finger on it. I just get a feeling from you when I hear you speak, like I don't know. It's like the hairs on my arms. It's just that kind of reaction, a hair-raising reaction at the back of my mind. There's
your hair raises when John speaks? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, he's using it metaphorically.
Yeah, I'm trying to describe it the best I can. The best way I can put it,
intuition, gut feeling.
Yeah, my spidey senses are tingling. Yeah, and I don't.
And when I'm trying to,
at first, hold on. At first, I didn't think you thought. I thought you were putting on an act.
Like a Poe.
Yeah, and then I thought maybe you weren't putting on an act, and then I realized you're just being you.
The end assertion is 100%. I'm being myself.
Right.
And there's been people who realize, if nothing else, the guy is pretty genuine and authentic, even if I believe he's full of shit, which is a fair judgment based on one's prior experience and information that they hold to be true. What I always tell people is, when you have spidey senses or you have those gut feelings or intuition, they're always based on your prior experiences in this life, even if you can't consciously draw a relationship with it. It could be an authority figure from the past. It could be an abuser from the past. It could be somebody who treated you poorly from the past. When you have those negative gut check feelings, and those are okay because, and I tell people, gut feelings and intuitions are good, and they're good because they're designed to help protect you. So you can't. So when I say that, hey, their intuition or gut feeling based on the past, I'm
going to pause for a sec. So. What he's basically saying, and I'm not
that was the entirety of the clip, guys.
So what he is saying at this point, and this is me paraphrasing, you have a gut reaction that I'm an abuser, and that's valid. Now, I know that there's obviously more context there. There's reasons why he is saying that, but I just wanted that little tiny, almost straw man out there for fun. Because on top of everything else, I think that when someone tells you something like that, you're like, oh, so wait, why is there validity to this? Well, you're comparing me to these other people. Okay, but why is that defense mechanism triggering? Well, because you're comparing me to people in the past. Okay, you still haven't answered the fucking question. Why are your behaviors in the present reminding me and triggering my self-defense mechanisms about abusers in the past who may or may not have done similar things? Is it maybe, perhaps, and this is just speculation, I could be very wrong for legally liable reasons, that it could very well be that there is no basis for it. It could also be that he is exhibiting all the exact same behaviors that previous abusers that somebody like Thomas has dealt with in the past, and his existence is validating all of those feelings because, again, it's a self-defense mechanism.
And like the whole thing, like, you can't use Jesus as an example. Like seriously, if Doubting Thomas was a former Christian and was indoctrinated into that, why couldn't he? Jesus would have been an example that he could draw from. It just seems like a weird argument. It was literally like slap my head in the face. Am I sick or am I hearing this shit?
But let's also add that you're sitting there and saying, "Oh, well, you're just comparing me to somebody in the past."
Why?
Okay, but like, why am I comparing you to somebody in the past? because there's not just I just feel like comparing somebody to somebody from my past. Nobody really wants to do that. I admit, psychologically, people do that and link and stuff because that's just how our brains work. But
if he's doing that, there's a reason, right? Like
if you are, as a human being linked to a toxic person in somebody else's past,
it could be that you're exhibiting behaviors of that toxic person in the past. Literally, a conversation that me and Aaron have had. Are there any behaviors that I am exhibiting that you would label as toxic? This is a conversation we've had. The honest answer at that point was yes, which is why I'm literally trying to work on shit. Literally went to therapy today. But anyway, point being, the onus is on you. If people are seeing toxic behaviors in you and it's reminding them of toxic behaviors that they have seen in the past, the onus is on you to identify that and fix that, not to tell the other person, oh, you're just being reminded of somebody in the past. Like, let's say that I was being like ridiculously abusive. I could just tell Aaron each and every time, well, yeah, but you remember when we rescued you from an abusive household? You're just being reminded of that abusive household. That's all that is. There's a reason why that's happening.
Yeah, like there's a reason. And so when you sit there and go, oh, well, stop doing that and see me for me, the human brain, MR claims to have a master's in psychology. The human brain doesn't just stop that connection. It physically is incapable of just stopping that connection. That's not how our neural pathways work.
So, speaking of toxic behavior, Suris, you said that you wanted me to play this one because, while he was on his rampage attacking Tony and Dragnot and Shay and Aaron, he couldn't resist taking a pot shot at you either, could he? He just couldn't help himself.
Nope.
So speaking of toxic behaviors and this man who claims that he never feels anything negative, let's go ahead and give another example.
I have an issue with that, and I want to hit that later, but
yeah, let's go ahead and show an example of you freed yourself from toxic behavior, huh?
The outcome is I get a laugh and I go to bed.
Jesus Christ, my channel. I asked that fucking like, shut up, Jay. I'm like,
there's a mute button, right, Jay? You fucking twat.
God damn, Jim. I mean, John.
I didn't say that shit. Vegeta just did. He said, mute yourself.
You need to get off the red
sock, ball that shit up, and stuff it in your mouth.
You need to get off the Red Bull, John. Jesus, real quick. Reese says inside chat. Wow. He says he just said simply he's wasted.
Totally. I'm chocolatey wasted.
Didn't we continue from where we were before you start talking about?
Yes, Vegeta.
Shit, Vegeta just did.
Okay, I think I might have.
Oh no,
it's not me messing up the clips. Are you saying that?
Hold on.
I'm trying to figure out if I misclicked the clip or if I put the wrong clip on that label, because there was a clip of him mocking Suris for appealing to the side chat.
Hold up. Give me a sec. I can find it, I think. Maybe, hopefully.
It's in that same general area, but let's go ahead and take a break really quick while we find that, because I might have messed that clip up when I was sending everybody the summarized ones. See, this is what happens.
No, it is this one. It's at 2 minutes, or it's at 2 hours, 22 minutes, and 50 seconds.
Okay, so I didn't let it play long enough. Gotcha. There's some homophobic and nasty rhetoric that Vegeta does both in the side chat and in this area, and I'm trying to be very careful to skirt around it. Because YouTube's hit us once already for other people doing homophobic shit and for us reviewing homophobic shit, so we don't want to give them any more ammo.
Okay,
all right,
let's
try that again. We're at 222:37, so it'll come up right now.
Mute yourself.
You get off the red sock, ball that shit up, and stuff it in your mouth.
You need to get off the Red Bull, John. Jesus Christ, son.
Reese needs some affirmation. So everybody who thinks that I'm embarrassing myself, please press 1 in the side chat to affirm Reese, please.
Please, can we not do the fucking cringy press a number in chat for anything?
Because I think that's so stupid when fucking people do it. Did you hear me when I called ProLib out? And they're like, why are you fucking calling to the side chat? He's like, it's my fucking channel. I'm like,
what did I miss? Wait, what?
There was a time in my interview with fucking ProLib that night where I got banned. And ProLib was like, everybody who thinks that he's insane, press 1 in the side chat. I'm like, why are you fucking appealing to the side chat? This is between me and you. And he was like, it's my fucking channel. It was the best.
If it's his channel, why was he? What?
Because you know how Suris always like, hey, everybody who agrees with me in the side chat.
No,
I know 4.2.
No, I don't necessarily always.
It's something I see on different
people
streams.
People do that shit.
It's really weird.
Like the only time to do that is like sound check. Can you all fuckers hear me? Press 1. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Let's fucking move on. To appeal to the side chat, unless it's like, hey, do you want me to talk about A, B, or C? Like when people do it for affirmation validation, I'm like, you insecure little bitch.
Oh, there it is.
Wow.
Really
No,
let him finish, Suris. Wait for it. Wait for it. Let him finish because it gets worse.
Validate who the hell you are and what you believe. Like, how insecure can you be in your own chat?
Reese, okay, hold up real quick. Reese says inside chat, wow. He says he just said simply, he's wasted.
All right, there you go. So I wanted to let him finish his little statement on that because first off, he called you a bitch. Second, so he's purged himself of all negative emotions, and there are no reasons whatsoever that Doubting Thomas was reminded of somebody abusive at some point in their lives, right? Let's go ahead and have a conversation about that.
So let's go ahead and say right now, and Messenger reveals if you are listening, there's this thing called projection, and I understand it decently well. So I do understand if you need to project your insecure little bitchness on me. I do. I really do. But here's the thing. Those of us with at least 3 brain cells to rub together, because at least they get to have a threesome.
I'm pretty sure that MRs I'm pretty sure that MRs went on strike for more electricity, and that failed, and they've walked off the job. So I'm pretty sure he doesn't have any left.
So, if there's one thing I've learned on YouTube, it's that, and YouTube heavily favors engagement. Now the difference between me and someone like Messenger Reveals and someone like Wujita, and I imagine as well someone like Jay, is that YouTube is my job. This is my full-time job. This is effectively, for better or worse, my career. There's a couple things that come into that. One of those things is that I have to be wary of a thing called engagement. When an audience is engaged, YouTube favors your video if it is seeing that multiple people are responding in the comments, if it is seeing multiple people are responding in the actual chat. Then YouTube sees that and goes, oh, people are engaging with this content. This is good content, and it will actually reward you in the algorithm for doing so.
Which reminds me, let me go ahead and do usually it's halfway through the stream. Hey, we've got a bunch of people that are hanging out in our chat, but not a lot of likes. Let's go ahead and fix that because we do need that engagement because YouTube's algorithm just boned us right in the butt. And unfortunately, it didn't ask, nor did it use any loops. So any engagement you guys can give us if you want to help us grow and get this message out to more people would be very appreciated. Go ahead, Suris.
Okay. Now, here's the thing with the engagement. Now, not only is engagement important for making your channel more favored in the algorithm, but when people are engaged in your chat, they are also more likely to give things like super chats, PayPal donations, send food. Again, this is my full-time job. So if you want to go, well, you're e-begging for money. Yes, actually, that is in fact what YouTubers have to do because YouTube has this wonderful habit of fucking over its creators and making it much harder for us to exist on their platform. Like, funny things like going, oh, yeah, no, you've put in a lot of money and you've put in a lot of effort into your video. It's going to get 28,000 views, but not a single one of those views is going to be monetized. So again, you have to do things to drive engagement, because that engagement then translates into financial gains. And those financial gains mean that you're allowed to eat. And if you want to make an argument that another living, breathing human being shouldn't be allowed to eat, well, capitalism already did that for you. So my point would be this. If you want to say that somebody's an insecure little bitch for understanding how the platform they operate on operates, then your litmus test for insecure little bitch is probably every single person who has ever had a career in anything, period. It is a really bad litmus test, and I am so sorry that you were dropped so hard on your head as a child that this is what your brain immediately goes to. I am sorry that so much happened in your childhood that was negative, that you feel the need as a professional dealing with mental health to bully other people on the internet because you, like me, have a 1-inch dick.
In Minecraft.
That's all. I didn't say that. Those are your words.
Yes, those are my words.
Hey,
That said,
1-inch dicks need
not
loving
only
too.
that, but bully somebody who has been very open recently about their recent struggles with needing to go and get therapy and help for their problems. Even like lashing out on somebody that you know is currently struggling, that's some bullshit.
That's also
and a professional would know this, right? Like a professional
would know this.
would know
Also,
this.
that shows again that level of like childishness. I'm sorry, my brain just died on that word. That shows that same level of childishness that you see that I saw in grade school. Quit acting like a fucking child. Be an adult, and part of being an adult is being respectful of others. Oh my god, it's such a fucking foreign concept.
Yeah, like again, let's go back to my original point at the very beginning of this stream, is that had Messenger just realized, oh man, I really fucked up. Aaron, I'm sorry. That might have been one thing, but that's not what happened. Messenger takes every chance he gets to talk shit about you, talk shit about Shay, now talk shit about me, talk shit about Suris every single chance he gets. He didn't take that adult route. He didn't say, oh, I made a mistake here. Aaron, I sincerely apologize to you. No, he has attacked ever since.
My parents still haven't apologized for making their biggest mistake. I'm still freaking here. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, I often told my mother that.
You okay, Aaron?
You know how I currently feel about parents and stuff.
Oh, fair enough. I'm sorry.
So we'll get to the abuse of you in the side chat in a hot minute, because earlier one of the people that he claimed doesn't care about you in those screenshots was hanging out in our chat showing support. So let's go ahead and debunk that shit later. But at the moment, there's another kind of major claim that I think we need to address before we get to the value extraction portion, as lovely Peter Coffin would put it, of our video, where we talk about the reason we put this all together, because we're getting pretty close. The last claim is that CPTSD doesn't exist. And again, there are currently 3 people who openly have CPTSD, or at least 2 of us do. I don't know if you classify yours as CPTSD or have had it classified that way, Shay, but Aaron and I both do. I was diagnosed with PTSD. Huh?
I was going to say, to clarify, mine is classified as adult traumatized CPTSD because complex PTSD, according to psychologists and therapists I'm seeing, only applies to trauma. Specifically, CPTSD applies to childhood trauma, and you only get it if you've suffered severe different types of trauma as an adult. So you have adult classified CPTSD.
Well, I have traditional CPTSD. I suffered incredible abuse when I was a kid. I've been very open about this. I'm going to put out a trigger warning really quick for anybody who's gone through sexual trauma or anything of that nature. I was beaten. I was raped. My stepfather attempted to choke me until I nearly passed out, and then told me that I was a worthless piece of shit that nobody would care for or adopt or ever love. the reason my accent is so fucked up, because everybody always asks that, why does it come and go? Why do you turn more and more British the angrier and more upset you get? At least one person here in this call has heard me have a total breakdown where I go completely like London fucking British. And people ask why that is. Well, you see, my father named me after the woman he left my mother for. And my mom literally beat my accent out of me. Because I was partially raised by my British grandparents. I picked that up for the first 4 or 5 years of my life or so. And then she got custody of me back right before she had my sister. So I sounded like him, and I was tortured my entire life for it. That's why I range from a mostly unemotive American accent that I have a very hard time maintaining, a bizarre mixed accent that is closer to my natural way of speaking, and if I get upset enough, I go completely British. That's why. Because I have incredible levels of trauma. The PTSD specialist I was working with had been doing this over 30 years. And she told me that I was one of the most intense cases that she had seen of childhood trauma. So I'm speaking from an experience, like a position of experience and diagnosis from having worked with a top professional in the field prior to her, freaking retiring. When I say, I have this and it's real. Aaron, go ahead.
Well, and Lady Tasha had it too, and he straight up told her to her face that she did not, and it was disgusting, and I will never get over that, and it's what changed my opinion of Messenger reveals.
So, Hannah Anderson asked, if a person claims to not feel anger yet displays anger, how does that work? I will get to that in a bit, but I wanted to verbally address it just in case you didn't see me address it in chat. When it comes to trauma and when it comes to CPTSD, the C stands for complex. It means there's multiple issues going on in that person's life. There's multiple cases of trauma.
Repeated
as somebody
trauma
who's
through childhood.
sorry, as somebody who has to deal with some of my trauma and some of my stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
How difficult is it to know if I'm having a flashback, what's going on?
Sometimes it's really easy to tell, and sometimes it's almost impossible to differentiate between you having a flashback or you just slightly disassociating or you zoning.
I had that same experience.
It
or me
ranges,
breaking down, or me completely breaking and being a sobbing child mess. You can't always tell with somebody. It's part of it being complex. You also aren't always going to know what sets it off.
For what it's worth, Aaron, that mirrors my experience as well. The guys have had a very hard time determining. Sometimes I become nonverbal.
Yeah,
and it's hard to tell if I'm having a panic attack or if I'm having a flashback because I cannot communicate what is going on.
I had that, and I spoke to it in one of those clips with my ex. That sometimes it's very easy to determine what's going on and how to react to it, and then other times it's just impossible. I'm like, I don't know.
You never know. If I say I have nightmares, Suris doesn't know what they were about. Unless I directly say, they were about this person, they were about this, they were about that.
The only way that I can tell when you wake up what your nightmare is about is entirely dependent on the way you look at me when you wake up, because there are certain people I'm not going to go into details because it's your private business. There's a person in the military who Aaron knew and who resembles what I look like.
Just enough when I'm just waking up.
Yes, and because they died, when Aaron wakes up, if I'm the first person they see and they had a nightmare dealing with this particular sergeant, it's easy to tell because they will shrink away from me and they will start to freak a little bit because in the blurry haze of waking up, I look like essentially a ghost coming back from the dead.
And it can be very terrifying.
Well, and then there have also been times where it's quite obvious that I'm having a flashback because I will be in enough of a space where I've been told that I've lost where I am so much that I've begged my dad not to hurt me and things of that nature.
Which is the exact same thing that had happened when we came back from Six Flags. And that exact line of communication is what we got from Aaron in the middle of a breakdown.
Because the fireworks were going off.
So you weren't here anymore.
I wasn't in the US anymore. we had to deal with that. Fun times.
So like we're dealing with some heavy stuff here. I gave lots of trigger warnings. People were annoyed with me for all the trigger warnings that I've given, but we're talking about heavy shit. There are people with trauma in our community. I want to make sure that while we're talking about this stuff, if you guys need to take care of yourselves, take care of yourselves. All right? Like I'm going to keep issuing these damn warnings because I want to make sure that anybody who's tuning in who doesn't realize that we're going to be talking about this kind of heavy shit hears them. I'd rather repeat them every time we bring it up because I want to make sure that no one gets hurt. Because unlike fucking Messenger, I give a shit if what I do hurts people.
Like, we all care if something we are saying hurts you. You can even privately let us know, hey, this thing hurt. I will personally, I'll speak for myself, I will apologize if I've accidentally hurt you. Because I hurt you, I made a mistake. That's on me. But then I'll turn around, it's like, how did I hurt you? So I can know how to do better. And always, first and foremost, please take care of yourself because your mental health and your physical health trumps our mental health and physical health when it comes to your personal life. If that makes sense.
I would rather you turn the damn stream off until we're done talking about this stuff to protect yourself. Or if you have a trigger or something to do that, than to stick around just because you're curious and you want to know what it is that our message is. Like, we can wait. Your health can't. So I'm going to keep issuing those trigger warnings because, they, as much as it annoys the people who don't need them, to the people who do need them, I might have saved a life. We talked about suicide earlier. I've been triggered before listening to stuff. Most of my triggers are physical, so I don't generally need these, but I know people who do. And there was a time in my life when I did.
Yeah, and
I know sometimes I need these verbal warnings because there are certain things like movies and stuff where it can set mine off really quickly, and then I'm done. I'm done for the night. Like, that's it.
So we actually have a question from Agnostic Pagan Mother. I'm gonna go ahead and answer it really quick for me. It depends on the flashbacks, Agnostic Pagan Mother. Sometimes I'm not here anymore, and I'm hearing and seeing things, and I'm completely in my head and gone, and I believe that what's going on in my head is real. Sometimes I zone out and I get trapped in my head. That's more close to what my counselor used to call intrusive memories. Basically, I lose the ability to be present still, but I'm not hearing and seeing things quite completely. It feels like thoughts, but they're thoughts I can't escape. And I get so lost in them that I can't engage with reality anymore. So that's closer to a dissociation. So for me, sometimes flashbacks are nightmares. Sometimes they're nightmares and I'm completely there and I wake up thinking that I'm still there and it takes me a second to come back from reality. So flashbacks can differ depending on the person and depending on even the trigger and the flashback and the intensity of them. That's my experience personally.
My experience mirrors the same. It also, depending on whether or not you have grounders, sometimes they can help where instead of having like the full not seeing, not hearing.
What do you see right now? What do you hear? What do you smell?
It can just be, oh, I'm holding my stuffed Stitch instead of now going to a place in my head and then hearing and seeing that place. I'm just zoned out and I'm just disassociated. Instead of having the full freak down that I'm stuck back in my traumatic instance.
So flashbacks can vary depending on their intensity and the intensity of the trigger.
And again, a professional trained psychologist that has a cure for this would understand this, and every discussion he comes into would be aware of the ramifications of every word he says. And Messenger likes to blame everybody else, but essentially this all comes back to Messenger reveals. He decided to do the things that he did and say the things that he said, and now he wants to put it off on Suris or me or Aaron or Shay or anybody else that he can put it off on instead of taking responsibility.
Let's all add. When you sit there and you play the blame game and you're like, it's not my fault, it's not my fault, and you're doing all that mess, you don't know what somebody else's triggers are. Sometimes, if you know somebody has PTSD, sometimes it helps to ask, hey, what are your known triggers? And also accept sometimes things are going to trigger these PTSD responses that have nothing to do with the instance. Like, there are people... Psychologist said today, there are people who have triggers, the mouse moved the wrong way and it set off their PTSD because it's like so fresh and, overactive, they can't control it.
Like at the beginning of the stream, I said I don't have PTSD, but then there's times when I think that maybe I do. You know, I've spoken about going to prison at 17 years old. There's things that kind of take me back to that sometimes. There's been comments that I get, why are you sounding so ghetto? And I'm like, well, and then I look back at that video and I can clearly see, oh shit, I took myself back to prison, right? Like, and I did start to speak a bit differently than I speak now, you know? So it's something like, I think that even people that are undiagnosed, maybe we have this thing and we just don't realize it, because I think a lot of us have fucked up past now. And I just want to keep hammering it home time and time again. You know, I gave Messenger every chance to fucking apologize to you, Aaron, and even in the last time I spoke to him when he was on Converse Contenders channel about 3 months ago, I even went live on stream with Messenger, talking about how pretty much like, I'll have that private conversation with you. You know, we can put this to bed. I get out of the live stream, I go to bed, and I wake up the next morning and I'm getting sent screenshots of the chat where he's literally attacking you once again. It's like, as soon as I fucking left, there he goes, he's attacking Aaron.
And like,
this campaign went on for some time too.
Like, here's the thing. If Messenger's listening, if you apologize to me, all's forgiven. You've owned up to your mistake. I'm that fucking easy to like let go of a grudge. You shit talking, you treating people like shit, you blaming other people, you being a childish moron.
While claiming to be some kind of elevated being in
Because
the
that's
same,
exactly
like, out of the
what
other side of your mouth.
Because that's what a prophet is.
For me, it could take a complete change in behavior to forgive.
But continue, Aaron. Sorry, Shay.
You know, I'm not going to forget. Like, I'll forgive that instance. But you continuously acting the way you do does not allow for me to forgive you. All you have to do is apologize for the time you hurt me, which you don't get to decide whether or not you did. I do, because I was the hurt person. That's all it takes is, hey, I'm sorry for this incident I hurt you. Okay, I'm not going to forget it, but I do forgive you for apologizing, because that's what adults do.
No, you're just sitting in a victim mentality. You're not taking responsibility for your feelings. You're trying to make Messenger Reveals take responsibility for how he made you feel, and that's a victim mentality. You can't keep doing that. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right?
I think you're close.
Suris, actually, that reminds me. There's another clip that actually applies to this. There might be a reason why he's refusing to apologize, because he has a particular doctrine that, if I recall correctly, we've got a clip of here, where he effectively says, well, if you don't learn to empathize with your abuser, then you'll never heal.
Which is absolute bullshit. Because guess what? I can understand why I was attacked when I was growing up by multiple people. It's because I was the only white kid in a black neighborhood. I can understand and I can empathize with that level of xenophobia because I've seen it expressed differently. But here's the thing. It hasn't done anything for helping me feel any differently about that situation, to be able to put myself in somebody's shoes and be scared of somebody in a different skin color. That doesn't change anything. I can empathize with a stepdad who had a severe chemical imbalance, and every time he started to feel better with his medication, he stopped his medication because he thought that's how it worked. I can empathize with feeling so inconvenienced by a handful of pills that you don't want to do it. But that empathy doesn't make me feel any differently about the situation. You do not owe your abuser empathy. You do not owe your abuser proximity. You do not owe your abuser communication.
You don't even owe your abuser forgiveness.
No, you don't.
Well, let's go ahead and see what his opinion is on this, because we've expressed ours. And this is where we've got maybe one more clip before the end, before we start to go into what our request of the community is. Because again, we did this for a reason, and we're getting very, very close because I think we built an excellent case for the arguments that we're going to make here at the end. But I want to go ahead and put this forward because maybe, just maybe, part of his problem is that he seems to think that it's your job, Aaron, to empathize with him, and that you'll heal that way. He doesn't.
I can't empathize, so congrats. I can't empathize with people I don't know.
You've officially ableistically knocked out everybody who wasn't able to control being a victim of sociopathy.
Yeah, so my mirror neurons don't work. I have issues empathizing.
Well, let me go ahead and play this.
To look at people's hearts rather than what they're doing and their actions, behaviors, choices, decisions, and expressions, then you begin to try to look at the world through their viewpoint. So you see what they're doing, you see what they're saying or not saying, and instead of judging that external sin or deed, you start looking internally and going, what's causing it? What's the why? What's really going on with them biologically, cognitively, experientially, and emotionally? And that's what empathy is the ability to look at the world through another person's heart. And if you haven't developed that skill, that's probably one of your problems why you're angry and bitter and resentful, or you're anxious and depressed. Because you would expect people to think and reason like you do. Because they know better, they should do better. But what's going on biologically that's canceling out the no? What intense emotions are going
biologically?
on? They're blocking out their ability to think and reason in the moment. What experiential triggers are happening over and over that they haven't healed from that are continuing to go on? So again, empathy is a huge...
Empathy is a very useful skill. I am glad that I have empathy. Now I live.
I'm not so glad that I have it, but that's a different topic.
Like,
I
here's the
have
thing.
a weird position on it.
To claim that because you cannot experience empathy for your abuser specifically, because he did mention empathy towards an abuser, and because of that, you are going to be bitter and resentful because you can't see the world from their perspective. Sometimes, not all the time, most of the time this is not the case, but sometimes people are just not good. They may have been good at one point, but
they're not anymore.
But sometimes people are just toxic, and you will gain nothing positively by trying to get into their brain. In fact, trying to get into their brain and get that level of empathy, put yourself in their shoes. Depending on their proximity to you, both physically and mentally, doing so could cause you real harm, depending on how virulent the person is.
Well, and on top of it, like, you know, it is, you guys know, because I've talked to you guys extensively about my personal life. You know, everybody in this room I have. One of my partners has a personality disorder. This particular personality disorder causes somebody to act in what appears to be a very self-centered way. It causes them to have reduced empathy during flare-ups. It causes them to behave in a very, very immature manner quite often. And it's caused, as far as they can tell, as far as his therapist and his psychiatrist and his counselor have been able to tell, it was caused by some pretty nasty childhood trauma. He was raised by military people, and those military people used military techniques to physically torture him as a kid when he acted up. He had things like a lock put on the outside of his door so that he would be unable to leave his room, and locks put on his windows and such, and he was locked into his room for hours or days. Does that justify him breaking holes in my walls and my doors?
No.
Does understanding that heal me from the PTSD he consistently triggers?
Nope.
And is it my job as the victim of that, which again, he doesn't harm me, he just breaks stuff. He's working on it. But this has happened before, prior to proper treatment and because of medication flare-ups. Does having that empathy heal me of that pain?
No.
Let's also
because
add,
both of you have been in a call with me after this event. In fact, it's been fairly recent, and I'm going to be open about that. So my question is, did understanding any of that, which I did at the time, did that help at all?
No.
Nope.
I would also like to point out, I have very, very, very mild antisocial personality disorder. I can empathize with people I care about but I have to know you to the point where basically the light turns on, where I'm physically able. No, I did not say that, Jay. Where I'm physically able to empathize with you, and those mirror neurons for an individual person are on. But as a whole, when it comes to a whole with normal people, I could see somebody, some random Joe Schmo, get hit by a car, and I would go, okay, let me help, but I cannot empathize with the pain of being hit by a car unlike a normal person.
So to clarify, Jay, I was the one speaking, Leakai, and I'm going to ask Aaron something. So Aaron, this was the person, his father worked in intelligence, so he was pretty high up the ranks in the Navy. He did this thing, and he said that it was a military punishment. I'm curious if you experienced it during your boot camp or anything. He would have my partner lay on his back with his legs at a 45-degree angle, and every time it would be a timer, and every time they dropped, he'd come over and hit him with a switch.
So not the switch part, but I know what you're talking about. They're called leg lifts, or that's what we called them in boot camp.
And he would do that as a punishment.
It is a punishment, but they can't do it for more for 10 minutes.
Well, for him, there was a 15-minute timer, and he'd get bopped with a switch, and by bopped I mean there were welds every time his legs dropped.
Like that's not something that's done in boot camp. It used to be.
Well, I mean, this guy was in his 50s and 60s, so it was probably done in boot camp when he went through boot camp.
Like, it was definitely done in boot camp when he went through, but as of currently, the whipping is not allowed. However, the leg lifts are still a punishment, and they're actually very uncomfortable.
So would you not say that in this application, that would be torture?
I would consider that a type of child abuse.
Yeah.
Jay.
So that's the claim that I'm making. Is this specific technique that he claimed came from the military, he was using it to torture his children?
Jay, the Navy calls basic training boot camp. The Army calls basic training boot camp. It's literally just a nickname.
It's nomenclature. Holy fucking shit.
It's like me calling an area with vending machines and shit. Like, if you put me in a room full of vending machines, I will call that a gidunk. That is a gidunk. How many times have I called the floor the deck?
Quite a few.
Or I'm going to the head. It's nomenclature, to jargon. Calling something boot camp is not. And also, didn't we clarify Navy?
Yes, Navy.
And boot camp is Marine Corps. You mean the U.S. Navy, United States Marine Corps. U.S. Navy, United States Marine Corps.
Navy, never again volunteer yourself. Just saying. My stepfather was an ex-Marine, by the way. My stepfather was an ex-Marine, by the way.
I worked with them, so.
So just saying, like, in terms of these sorts of things, like, I wasn't claiming that the U.S. Now, I probably could make that claim, to be honest, because there's a certain level of psychological breakdown that basic training does in the military. It's literally designed to destroy your personality and rebuild you from the ground up. That is itself a form of psychological torture. But we can get into the semantics about how the Geneva Convention, argues such things. That's my personal opinion.
I would definitely make that claim myself, but that would be a totally different stream.
But let's get off the pedantism and kind of go back. The point that I was making by bringing up this example is that my empathy for that, my understanding of where he was coming from, did not help me in that moment, and it never would. And I'm pretty sure that even if Aaron, if you were to somehow understand everything that Messenger went through, and let's assume that you were close enough to him that light had come on, right? Let's just play a game. We're gonna go into Fantasyland. You understanding all this shit that happened in Messenger's past, that wouldn't make you heal from what he did to you, would it?
No.
No, it would take.
It changes nothing. You still hurt me. That hurt is still valid. It doesn't matter you're hurt in the fucking past when it comes to you hurting other people. You are perpetuating a fucking cycle. Also, I see my child in the background, Suris. Can you give her love for me?
Yeah. Just give me 1 second. There we go.
Other side.
All right, now call me a bitch. I just choked on a hit.
I don't know. I was trying to troll in the chat, and I think I failed. So.
Yeah, I just muted myself, but Dana was like, "You need some medicine. You sound mad." And then I took a hit, and now I'm joking. So
we are running super long, so
yeah,
I think we should
almost at the
probably
end
try
here,
to start
but
wrapping up and getting to our final
our call to
points.
action. We're almost there, guys. So the last bit that I wanted to mention
for like 2 seconds.
So here's a question, Suris. When you and I and Aaron initially talked, we kind of talked about coming at it from a scientific angle, but there was a reason we decided not to. Do you want to elaborate on why that is, since Nock wants to kind of bring us to this point?
If I'm being perfectly honest, I do not remember the reason why.
I don't either. I'm sorry.
Well, one of the big things was you've already kind of done that once, right? You made your video on the messenger reveals on CPTSD. The little bit that you had talked about it. You talked about the scientific reasons, and that changed absolutely nothing. Shay had a debate with him where he presented, or where she presented, he at the time, as far as I understood, presented evidence that what the messenger was claiming, there was scientific consensus that he was wrong. Again, apologies for the accidental misgender, AR, because I was referring to the time period.
He doesn't need evidence, though. It's fine. You don't need evidence that you were misgendering either. Obviously, that's how this works.
So the point is, the scientific method won't convince him because he doesn't care about what the science says. He thinks that he's above all of that. But what he has done to us, primarily, has been a particular attack on character. And this is where Nock screenshots. Nock, you finally get to talk about yourself for a second. I'll have Suris and Aaron talk a little bit about their experiences, and Shay. But this entire stream started because he decided to attack us for our characters. And he thinks he's a superior being. He thinks that he's above anything petty.
It's like he took the gloves off and he's like, finally, I'm going to just attack Nakasuchi because, Nakasuchi isn't letting me on his channel anymore. And it's really petty when you consider, what the attacks that he leveled at Aaron and still does, the attacks that he leveled at Shay, the attacks he leveled at Lady Tasha, who, by the way, couldn't make it tonight. I reached out to her, but she's a busy person. Reached out to me after my last stream on this and thanked me for the work that I did in exposing Messenger like I did. So, but yeah, I wanted to talk real briefly, so it's on the screen right now. The Messenger reveals Raging is anti-theist. I've actually come out fairly strong against anti-theism. I plan on speaking about how I went wrong with that, but I'm not an anti-theist. I'm anti-Abrahamic. I surround myself with theists. I have no problems with theists.
There's a theist in this call that happens to be the co-host of this channel.
Yeah, I happen to be an anti-theist, actually, but there's a thing though. If you are an anti-theist in the way that Christopher Hitchens was an anti-theist, then you're perfectly fine with people like Eliakai. You're perfectly fine with people like Ocean, because Hitchens' brand of anti-theism, and arguably he was the most prominent anti-theist, was, hey, you can play with your toys and I'll play with mine. And if you tell me I must play with your toys, then we will have a disagreement. But until you do so, we're cool. I'm paraphrasing Hitchens, but that is literally what he has said on the matter.
And that's exactly right. And that's where I went wrong with my attacks on anti-theism, because I was broad brushing them and I was painting them into the toxicity that I had in myself. I used to be an anti-theist messenger, but I'm not. I'm anti-Abrahamic. And in fact, I get criticized for not being anti-theist enough when it comes in regards to my polytheistic friends.
Whatever you do, don't talk to Nightmare Fuel.
Well, that's why I wanted you to go in and read a little further down, because somebody actually pops in and says that you're not anti-theist.
Yeah, I think that's probably the next one. We'll put that up here. This is where Messenger says he's replying to Benghazi. I only associate with polytheists who identify with LGBTQIAP+.
So that P, by the way, is a dog whistle. You want to explain that one, Suris?
Yeah, the P gets added in for reasons that Shay can explain because Shay has had less talking time than me.
Okay, go ahead, Jay.
The P, well, it can mean one of two things. It usually means pansexual if it's, usually coming from an LGBTQ plus person. However,
if they put it as a lowercase p.
Yes.
However, there was a 4chan psyop that happened a few years ago that still comes up. It manifested into the MAP movement that you'll see on Twitter a lot. It's the P is supposed to stand for pedophilia. They're trying to make it seem like pedophiles are somehow a part of the LGBTQ plus community, that it's just a different sexual orientation and they deserve the same rights. But in reality,
if you guys remember my interaction with Brother Jay did that specifically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But last one. Go ahead, Shay.
Sorry, that it just pisses me off.
So he's basically saying
the whole thing is that pedophilia, unlike the rest of the LGBTQ plus community, I mean the ones that at least deal with sexual orientations, isn't consensual. There's no consent involved. It's also not a fucking sexual orientation.
It's that thing where, well, even if we granted that it's an orientation that a person cannot control, even if we granted that, the problem comes down to how can it manifest. And unfortunately, or, fortunately as well, given, there is no healthy way involving another human being that type of attraction can manifest. That's the problem. It is impossible for that to manifest in a healthy way in somebody who, in somebody that lets their feelings manifest, lets their attraction manifest with another human being.
Yeah, it's Messenger. It's for one, it's a straight up lie, right? Because all of my polytheist friends aren't. I mean, some of them are straight, right? Like,
when he made this claim, I actually went and talked to Ocean, and Ocean was like, "Well, as far as I know, I don't fit that umbrella."
Ocean, Wolf. I mean, so many. Like there's. I mean, it's just not true. For one, I don't discriminate. Like, if I like you as a person, I like you whether you're straight, gay, whatever you are. If I don't like you as a person, I like you. I don't like you for specific reasons, and I'll probably tell you why. All right, so the very last one, this one was great. So he did the whole LGBTQ thing. Down here though, he says Ocean only came around with the group because they all felt Nakasuchi was embarrassing the community in his interactions with Matt Powell, Suris, Shannon Q, Ocean, etc. So I mean, for one, I met you, Suris, through interactions with Matt Powell. You were covering the movie I was in. I reached out to you, and you were like, hell shit, dude, you were in the movie. Come on my channel. I mean, isn't that how it happened? It wasn't like you, dude, I'm embarrassed of you.
So full disclosure, our conversation, this is actually how your first conversations with R and Raw went as well. They began with us heavily critiquing you. Now, granted, part of that was based on how Matt edited the video, right? Because you didn't perform as badly as Matt's editing would suggest, but our initial interactions were very much critical of going, this is, I think the exact things that both me and Aaron said, because I had Aaron on the second episode of that show, was that he picked an atheist who couldn't properly manage this kind of discussion, specifically because this is the kind of atheist he needs to talk to look good. And granted, that is disparaging and that is insulting towards you, but the editing led us to believe that was how that functioned. And I'm also not going to lie. I'm not going to be like, I might be friends with this person one day. I'm not going to tell the truth just in case. But we got in conversations afterwards, and then you were on the last 3 episodes of that show dealing with that, because there were 6 episodes in total. Shay was on for every one of them, And then we had rotating guests on for everything else. We had Bionic Dance on for 2, Aaron Raw was on for 1, Jim from Atheist Edge was on for 1, Nathaniel Walters was on for 1.
If I remember right, I really enjoyed the Nathaniel Walters episode. That was interesting.
How could I hold it against anybody that saw Matt Powell's cuts in his movie, never heard of me before?
It's so easy to assume. It's so easy to assume that they would edit honestly too. Like you see him being disingenuous throughout the entire thing, but still, like when it looks that fucking terrible, there's a part of you that wants to believe there's a kernel of truth, even if there really wasn't, as it turned out. Because he sabotaged your equipment, didn't he?
Yeah, and so for one, I'm not sure that Ocean even knew who I was. Ocean came into the show that had where Matt actually called in. Ocean jumped into the very end of it and was fucking with Matt. When it comes to Shannon Q, this is a direct lie by Messenger Reveals because Messenger, you were there. The first time Shannon came on my channel was to debunk your shit. And then after the modern day debate, that's when Shannon came on to give me fair criticisms of my performance that night.
That was actually me, Shannon, and Ocean.
Yeah, and it's not like you guys were embarrassed. You were giving me fair criticisms. But when it comes to the point like, oh, I made a lot of friends because people were embarrassed of me. No, I'm very proud of my work against Matt Powell. But outside of that, I've made friends literally because I've reached out to them. You know, I saw that Suris was streaming, and instead of getting pissed off, oh my God, they're going based upon what Matt Powell said, I reached out to Suris and I was able to defend myself. Since then, me and Suris have talked regularly. Me and Ocean have talked regularly. You know, it's not like Messenger Reveals, you're just blatantly lying once again. But you're doing it now because you know that I'm not going to let you back on my channel. Back when you thought I was going to, it was a different story and you were kissing my ass.
There's I will quote a thing that I said a while ago. I want to say it was maybe a couple days after you did your debate with Matt Powell. I specifically said on my channel that I was disappointed in how you operated in that debate. But I also said that it was through debates like that you're going to improve and get better in the future, because failure's how you get better. You're not going to go into a debate just immediately be a fucking Zen master.
Well, and I've never ran away from the fact that debate was a bad performance by myself. I did a certain thing, it didn't work out, and I've given him like every credit for that conversation. Like, dude, yeah, you got me. But what, like, it's just completely disingenuous to sit there and say that, for one, that's how I made these relationships. No, I was networking. I was doing what YouTubers do. I didn't even know about the fucking community for the longest fucking time. So,
well, and besides that, Knock, I want to address something else that he said, because something else that he said in that stream, which I don't remember actually clipping, but he said that you were a coward for being unwilling to deal with this stuff in private, but the fact that you were able to take that level of criticism from a community that you'd never before been, exposed to, and that you were willing to try to improve and to own up to these things, that speaks far more to your character than I think you've been given credit for in the past. Like, I think that in terms of what Messenger is, like his allegations, it's clear that that's not true because of this.
Well, and the whole private conversation, yes, I told Messenger I would do that. It was a long time afterwards. During the time, I said, you can't come on the channel anymore. Maybe I'll have you on for a one-on-one and we can talk about these issues. He wanted to have a private conversation. I never agreed to it. Later, on the Converse Contender channel, I went on and I was like, you know what? You asked for a private conversation. I would give it to you. And I meant to. But then, as I said, I went to sleep. I woke up, and I'm getting screenshots about how he continued to attack Aaron. And I'm like, well, if you're not even willing to change your behavior now, after all this time that's transpired, what is a private conversation going to do? Honestly, like, you're still doing the same shit. Like, nothing has changed in this dynamic here. So what's a private conversation going to do except for special pleading to me to make me somehow, like, overlook all the bullshit you've done? No, that's not how it works.
what a private conversation can solidify, and this is not a private conversation with Messenger Reveals. I just want to play on the meme going on in the chat and say that a private conversation with Matt Powell can at least exemplify that he has a pretty mouth.
Yeah, he does have a pretty mouth. Matt Powell, you're probably I can't speak. I am so sick, guys. You're probably listening to. I like your mouth, dude.
I want to slap them cheeks until they're as red as the ones on his face.
His new video, the trolling that went on in that comment section was brilliant.
Shay!
I just want to send
Bad! Okay, if I'm going to take any level of like shoulder angel roll, fucking seriously, wow, Shay, wow.
You gave up your shoulder angel. But
I've been working with the devil on this one because honestly, like, we'll get there. I'm trying so hard to be patient for this one.
It's just a meme. It's just a meme. I promise.
I get it, Shay, but still.
He has a pretty mouth in Minecraft.
But final conclusion before we go to our final shit and talk about our final points. I only brought up those messages because Messenger Reveals can think about me what he wants. I really don't care. I think it does show that his claims about how he's used this methodology to heal himself of all these petty grievances that life offers is just bullshit. It goes to show that dude is butthurt because I'm not letting him on my channel anymore, and I think that's what those clips show. But I think it's time to finally get to our conclusions. I think that we have a special plea for the community, and I'm fully endorsing it. So I'll let you lead that way, Allie.
Well, and if anybody in this stream disagrees with my opinion, then fine. But the reason that I asked everyone together, that I told everybody that I wanted to do this, was because we want to call on the community as a community and say that we need to kick this predator out of the community, that we need to stop giving him the attention and the validation that he so obviously craves, which he's projected onto each one of us to some degree.
Give him the Jill treatment.
He has abused. He has abused multiple people in this community using our platform. He has lied about a number of things that we clearly demonstrate. He has attempted to gaslight everyone here. So
definitely
we've got
worth noting
a prophet, self-styled, who claims he can help the weakest among us. Because let's face it, after a nasty flashback, when you're dealing with nightmares every night, if somebody tells you that they've got the cure to that torture, and you're desperate enough, you're in pain enough to believe anything.
If you have little spindly arms like Shay does.
If you're in that terrible place
tinier.
And somebody offers a cure to you, what do you think is going to happen?
Thank you, Spiro.
And I think we've demonstrated pretty bloody well tonight that when somebody comes to him, what he has to offer clearly can lead to some pretty nasty, horrible, painful ends to the people that he deals with. That he has no concern for triggering us, that he has no concern for the well-being and safety of the people he claims he wants to help.
Yeah, I personally pledge that I am not going to have Messenger Reveals back on my channel. I'm not going to have Jill on my channel. I'm probably, I can personally pledge that Misha Popov will never be on my channel again. I'm looking at who I talk to and what we're doing on this channel. I think that there's ways to attack these dangerous beliefs without platforming these people. I should have listened at the time when I had several people telling me. I clung to this thing that I thought Messenger Reveals was a different type of Christian and that we could be friends and that if we could just get past this, his wording, that it would be okay. And then I made the terrible mistake of assuming that, and then you guys saw what happened. and he's going to blame me, and from here on out he can say whatever he wants. I'm not going to address this again, but I felt it was important, especially, you know, to bring Aaron on and to bring Suris on and let them address Messenger. He seems to think we're punching down. We're not. You're a dangerous person, Messenger, and I wish I would have seen it earlier. I wish I wouldn't have platformed you as much as I did. Can't take back the past. I can only change the future. And yeah, I make that pledge, and I hope everybody will.
Because any atheist or, you know, any content creator really that has seen this evidence, that knows what he's capable of, who knowingly platforms him, knowing that any size platform can expose a predator like this to a new audience, that's an incredibly irresponsible thing to do.
Yeah, especially, you know, show some remorse, give that apology. Maybe we can work from there. But he's not even willing to do that. It's just attack. And, you know, people are going to do what they want to do. I never tell anybody to do on their channel what anything. I do on mine what I do, and I'm facing the ramifications of that. But this man he offers some woo, and you can have all the. He's a smart dude. You can have some really good conversations with him. I did, but you're not going to escape that woo. Eventually, it's going to come out. It's going to affect you, and you're going to regret it.
Yeah. So that's why we made this stream, to issue an all call to the community. If you give a damn about your viewership, if you're concerned for people who might get hurt, if you've seen this evidence, this 3.5 hours it took us to use his words to explain his philosophy and to showcase just how deep his abuse goes and how deep his lack of remorse goes, the way that he has gaslit this community, if you see all of that and you make that decision to platform him, think about what that means. Please.
You put people at risk by platforming him.
So,
go on, okay.
That's why we did this.
And I said I was going to explain this, and I'm coming to it now. When somebody says they don't experience negative emotions, when somebody makes that bold claim because they're bad emotions, if you don't want to feel these emotions, you want to be dead. Like, you're going to feel negative emotions. You're going to feel bad emotions. It's part of life. If you're not feeling them, your mirror neurons, your neural pathways are not firing properly, and you need to be looked at by serious psychological and psychiatrical help. That being said, if you're using the fact that you don't have this feeling to cause harm and hurt to others, you know, you still need that help, and you probably need to take a look at yourself and go, what the heck is wrong with me? And that being said, Messenger, if you see this, I'm fully willing to have a conversation with you. It will be a completely private conversation because I'm not platforming you on my channel. That's just the way I roll. That being said, I'm also rearranging my entire channel. So, and when it comes to that, like, if you want to show remorse, you want to show, okay, I'm going to get better, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, you've got to understand what you're doing and how it harms. You're not at that point yet, and you really need to get there. That's all I gotta say.
I think that's the fairest thing that you could have said, and very brave. Thank you so much, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron.
I mean, if he tries to hurt me like he did last time, I have some mental guard. It's called, I know how to tune people out now. I've learned some tricks.
Oh, I thought it was alcohol.
That too.
No, that is the writer's escape, Suris. Oh, wait, I forgot. Aaron, you've been working on your novel, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
I suppose that's a perfectly fair assumption to make then. I'm proud of you for that, by the way.
Yes, I've actually fully finished fully finished all the research and stuff for my novel. So I've started actually like working on it.
Congratulations! Like one author to another, congratulations. That is a huge, huge step, especially with how big it was when you were talking to me about it.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot larger than some novels. It's probably going to be a whole series.
Well, I was about to ask Shay, now that we've had this humorous diversion from the seriousness of our plea, Shay, you've been at the core of this from the start. You were the one who did the initial research and debunk and debate back on the channel, even after he had attacked you and your best friend. You're the one with the amazing archive of all of those videos that he had pulled down that helped out with that. You're the one that was accused of being the person who actually harmed Aaron. You're
Glad
the one
we
that
went over that.
Yep.
Like, I don't know
You
where
were the
fuck
one
that
that
came
he-
from, but it's plausible deniability. Not anybody. I mean, nobody else has seen that clip. Not
He's
everybody
the
watches
only
Suris,
one-
even if he has a pretty big platform.
Well, and I'm
Not-
saying
not
he's the one that like initiated all of this by he just couldn't resist attacking you. What is your plea to the community regarding Messenger?
I'm not as nice as Aaron. Just
Am
gonna
I
throw
nice?
that out there. Like I think I'm teetering on the idea that he's like beyond like a second chance. I don't think he deserves anyone's attention. All he's gonna do is like seek out people that he can manipulate and get onto their platforms so that he can target more vulnerable people. He'll victim blame them. He'll make them feel helpless. He'll do whatever he can to make you think that he's the only one that can save you and pull you into his little cult. Well, maybe that's a little strong language, but that's how I see it. It's very cultish. And
Well, discipleship certainly implies that, doesn't it?
And plus, if you tie it all around to the religion, he's the only one with his special knowledge. He's a
He
prophet.
can show you the world. Sorry.
And on top of this, now he's surrounding himself with like other really toxic people. And I'm not.
Oh, don't forget, it's not just
I'm
that
not
he's
talking-
the prophet. He has divine knowledge that only he possesses and only he ever will possess because other people would do bad things with it, right?
And exactly. Yeah. Now, I'm not trying to like call out Vegeta. Vegeta's a different thing. I think he's just needs a little education when it comes to like LGBTQ plus issues.
As opposed to
But-
the education he has right now.
Yes, education. That's a good way to put it. But he's surrounding himself with toxic people, gaining more of a clout in those areas. He needs to be snuffed out. The only way he'll disappear is if we stop giving him attention. So let's stop doing that.
Even then, that's not even a full guarantee because.
But at least we can stop feeding the bloody algorithm incentives to make his name get out there further.
We should treat him like the manatee, all right? Just don't feed the manatee.
And even then, like, I should warn that kind of content on YouTube is starting, particularly mental health content, is starting to become a thing. So with that being said, we need to start figuring out what to do to get him at least psychological, like get him to get the help that he very obviously needs based on what we've seen.
Help that we can't give him, by the way, and that we won't claim that we can.
No, none of us can give him this help. All I can give is forgiveness for what Messenger's done for me. I can't give forgiveness for what Messenger's done to Suris. I can't do that for Shay. I can't do that for Naka or Ali. That being said, I fully recognize that there are some very major red flags that show that Messenger needs help. And that being said, we need to figure out a way to get the algorithm to completely ignore his channel and skip over it.
Yeah.
So that we can get to the point where while that content is becoming popular, he's not. Also, Jay, I don't know if you're toxic because I don't know you well enough and I haven't watched a lot of your content.
When it comes to Messenger, I think that we did our work here tonight. I think that we've thoroughly shown, again, that like I had no ill intentions against Messenger. I let the guy on my channel. We had conversations. He made the claims he made in Suris' side chat separate of that, and then it became an issue on my channel. And it progressed to this point here tonight. And the only reason we're doing this here tonight is because he continued to attack Aaron and Shay. I think me and Suris were YouTubers, we're big boys, we're used to that. But when you're going to attack people that literally laid out their traumas and you're going to use that against them, you're going to say you have a cure, and you don't. Let's just be honest here. Then what the fuck are we supposed to do as a skeptic community but call you out? This is the last time I'm doing it, Messenger Reveals. Continue to say what you want to say, but I think we did our job here tonight.
And to be honest, like, I technically, in a weird way, have you to thank for even being a part of this community, because that stream was the one that happened just before Nuck decided that he couldn't stand the direction the channel was going.
After what happened with Aaron, I decided I had to have moderators. There was no doubt about it.
And you know who connected us? Suris.
That would be Suris. Yep.
Hello.
So
I'm also really sorry about my blow up on your channel on that day because of Messenger. I still apologize for that.
No, don't be.
No, you have nothing to apologize.
Yeah,
you have nothing to apologize for.
And in
I still
fact,
feel
I
bad 'cause I don't like
apologize
blowing up like that.
because there's been a couple times where I've kind of forgotten and just like invited Messenger in and didn't realize, you know, this dude has actually caused real harm. And so, you know, no, you don't have anything to apologize for. Messenger should. And maybe one day he'll find his humanity and he'll do so to both of you and to Suris and to even, no, I don't want an apology, but just be a dude, Messenger, and realize you fucked up. You fucked up and we're calling you out and you don't like it. Sorry.
Yeah, and to be honest, like, as somebody who fits in the category of somebody you try to take advantage of, I don't want to see another person get hurt. Not on this platform that I now co-own with Nuka. Not anywhere. Not from some exposure that you got from an atheist lolcow video or a angry polytheist responding to the things you're saying, or even another Christian calling you out for your claims about your visions. Anytime that your name gets added to the algorithm, that's more people that you'll be able to hurt, Messenger. And I don't ever want to see that happen again.
Yeah, you know, I'm not sure where this channel is going to go after the whole demonetization thing. I know I had, you know, X giving me advice for months about platforming, and maybe I should have listened a little more. Messenger Reveals is somebody I regret platforming. Misha Popoff is somebody I regret platforming. I don't know if Misha Popoff is the reason why my channel was demonetized. I clearly think that I have a tact that is not the best sometimes. I take responsibility for that. But there is a responsibility, I think, and I clearly failed it. I should have, without a doubt, stopped having Messenger on 3 streams before I did. Because I had people coming at me. I was seeing what was going on. I was talking to him, asking him to stop. I thought he would. I made that mistake. I learned from them. And that's why I'm saying clearly I will not have Messenger back on. Now, Messenger, if you are truly going to be a human being and apologize for some of these things, and I'm not saying do it because I'm saying do it. I'm saying because you realize that you was wrong, then I'll revisit that decision. But for right now, like, dude, it's, to me, you're just toxic. You're harmful. You went after people I care about. We're internet friends, but I know these people, and I clearly asked them not to do it. So I feel pretty good about my decision there, and I feel pretty good about doing this tonight. And again, it's going to be the last time. It's not punching down. You use your education against people. You're the type of people I think we're all here dedicated to expose. So yeah, I'm glad that we exposed you, and enough said, I think.
Yeah, I think that I wanted this to be able to be the final word on this entire drama. Again, unless Tony Design wants to come on and face his, you know, the allegations against that and do a debunk. But honestly, for the most part, this
I think
was the big
Messenger's
one
in love
for
with
me.
Tony Designs. I really do.
But I mean, comparatively, this is the big one, right? Like, it's a difference between a conspiracy theory and triggering someone's trauma. So, guys, final message to the community before I let Knock wrap up. Please do not platform the Messenger Reveals. Don't grow his audience, and don't let him expose himself to new victims, because you'd be complicit in that if you do.
Yeah, and I do want to thank Suris and Aaron and Shay for coming. I apologize to Lady Tasha for reaching out so late. I dropped the ball on that. I think that if I would have reached out to her when I should have, she would have had more time and she would have been here. I want to thank everybody in the chat for being here tonight. And I want to give anybody last words, any last thoughts on Messenger. And again, thank you guys for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for doing it.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've been talking a long time.
I guess for last words, I just want to say thank you for having me on. Honestly, it's been a lot of fun. You know how I like going after charlatans and stuff, and I'm glad we were able to do this.
Yeah, I'm real glad you came back on, Shay. It's been a long time. It's good to see you again.
Suris?
My last words are nitwit, blubber, and oddment.
Perfect.
Aaron?
Last words. Good night. I'm really tired.
Yeah, me too. I'm so sick. I'm like, I should have been
Oh my
sleeping
god,
2
so
hours
am
ago.
I. We've been streaming for almost 4 hours.
All right, and with that, we're going to get the hell out of here. So closing music. Good night. Be the conversation.
Yeah.